Chapter 605. Only 3 more spirit plants, and then I will have all the materials needed to make the antidote for the shadowless poison. Inside the mountain that was covered in fog, there was a small town. Normally, there would not be a single person in the town, but today, there were a lot of people walking out of the town. Among the crowd, a young couple was walking side by side. The man was wearing blue robes, with a long sword hanging on his waist, and the girl was wearing a purple dress, with a light veil covering her face. It was indeed Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng, who had left the West Hill City about a month ago. Yi Chen said after letting out a breath. Murong Qingcheng glanced at Yi Chen, pressed her lips together, and said, "I did not expect you to be able to collect so many materials in such a short time. There are still 3 more, so it should not take too long." "Thank you." Her mother, Su Ruhui, had been poisoned by the shadowless poison, which had been weighing on Murong Qingcheng's mind for a long time. In fact, if she had not been distracted, she could have reached the Sea of Souls realm much earlier. After Su Ruhui's help, she was finally able to focus on her closed-door training, and finally reached the Sea of Souls realm 2 months ago. She originally thought that Yi Chen would not be able to collect that many materials by himself, but she did not expect that Yi Chen would put so much effort into it, and manage to collect almost all of the precious materials. When she arrived, he was still missing 5 materials, but now, he was only missing 3. Yi Chen chuckled and did not say anything more. He changed the topic. "I did not expect that there would be a small town like this in the middle of nowhere. If I did not get the information from the pavilion, I would have missed the 2 materials that I just got." The small town was called the Barren Mountain Town, which was located at the border between the Sky Marshal region and the North region. No one had lived there for hundreds of years, and then it became a place for a secret auction to deal with some shady items. The time of the auction was not fixed. Sometimes, it would be held once every few months, and sometimes, it would not be held even once every few years. Through the pavilion, Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng knew that there was going to be an auction here, so they rushed over from hundreds of thousands of miles away. A group of people stood on a tall building near the town's gate. "Did you see that? It's the 2 of them." At the auction, that kid spent hundreds of thousands of upper-level spirit stones to buy 2 spirit grasses without even blinking. "I'm guessing that he has more upper-level spirit stones on him." The person who spoke raised a finger. 100,000 top-grade spirit stones, the person beside him said subconsciously. "Wrong. It's 1,000,000 upper spiritual stones." 1,000,000? That's too much. Perhaps his wealth has already been depleted. "I've been in the auction house for so many years, how could I be blind? Apart from Life and Death Kings, I haven't seen anyone below Life and Death King realm. No matter how high their strength is, they will always reveal some clues. From their eyes, facial expressions, and even some small movements, I can guess their net worth. For example, if you have 100,000 upper-grade spirit stones, if you spend 90,000 upper-grade spirit stones to buy something, you will definitely feel heartache. You will unconsciously make a move, but you won't be aware of it. That sounds reasonable. You said that that brat spent hundreds of thousands of top-rank spirit stones, but he did not feel heartache at all. Therefore, I can guess that his net worth is around 1,000,000. Indeed, this is a big deal. I am just afraid that we will not be able to afford it. Everyone who dares to come to this town must have something up their sleeves. This brat must be a powerful martial genius from the Sky Marshal region. Unfortunately, I have never seen him before. If you haven't seen him before, it means that he is not that famous. As long as he is not one of those famous young warriors, we will have 100% chance of succeeding. Even if it is a famous young warrior, the success rate would be above 60%. Fortune comes from danger, not to mention that we still have 3 godly martial puppet cannons. Damn. Let's do it. Yi Chen's fame had only started to spread throughout the Sky Marshal region this month. The Barren Ridge town was located at the border between the Sky Marshal region and the North region. There were a lot of people who did not know about Yi Chen. "We are almost out of the fog-hidden magic array." Yi Chen and Yi Chen did not fly into the air. The Barren Ridge town was surrounded by a huge fog-hidden magic array. Inside the fog-hidden magic array, one could only walk out or in step by step. Once they flew into the air, it would be very easy for them to get lost in the thick fog, which would be a waste of time. This was also the reason why the barren ridge town was chosen as the location for the secret auction. Watch out! Yi Chen suddenly grabbed Murong Qingqing's hand and stepped back. Boom! A glaring red light landed on the ground in front of the two of them. In an instant, a huge pit appeared out of thin air. It had a diameter of 100 meters and a depth of more than 50 meters. The exposed surface of the pit was crystallized, and the soil had been burned into crystals. Puppet cannon. Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing stepped back very fast. They were only hit by the shockwave, which was not a big deal. However, the power of the red light made them look serious. If they did not step back in time, the red light would have landed on them. Even if they did not die, they would have been crippled. Damn it! They dodged it. Let's fire together. I do not believe that they can fly away. 3 miles away, a group of people spread out. In front of them were 3 huge puppet cannons. There were wheels on the bottom of the cannons, and their bodies were dark red with complicated patterns carved on them. There was a circle on the top of the cannons, which had a white crystal embedded in it. There was a human shadow on the crystal, which was obviously Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing. Boom! 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 The puppet cannons vibrated, and 3 eye-piercing red lights shot out like 3 burning meteors in the fog, aiming right at the 2 people who were a few miles away. After dodging 2 of the red light, the third one seemed to be unavoidable. Yi Chen took out his Thunder Disaster Sword and threw out a sword attack, hitting right in the middle of the red light. Swoosh! He had already used his Gold Resonant Radiance sword attack this time, which sliced the red light in half. The 2 weaker ones landed on the left and right sides, exploding into a huge flame. Strange. How did they manage to aim at us? Yi Chen was curious, since this fog-hidden spell had the effect of weakening soul power as well. Based on his estimation, it would be around 100 times. With Yi Chen's powerful soul power, he could only shoot it out 5 miles away. Most of the Sea of Souls realm warriors could only reach 1 mile. But, according to his senses, the attacker was 3 miles away, which meant that they would be able to aim at them from 3 miles away. Darkness sky. With both of her hands wrapped in a black chi, Murong Qingqing pushed up a semicircular black shield, protecting Yi Chen and herself within. What? Gone. On top of the white crystal, Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing had disappeared. In their eyes, it was something unimaginable, since it was not a normal crystal. It was a precious crystal that could sense life. It was not originally mounted on the godly martial puppet cannon, but they had gotten it from some ruins. They had suddenly thought of putting it on the cannon, which was like adding wings to a tiger. They had used it to attack countless master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors who were more powerful than them. It must be some kind of secret art. Damn. Let's go. This thing is troublesome. This group of people left without hesitation, putting away the godly martial puppet cannon and disappearing without a trace. They are gone. The moment the black screen was erected, the red light did not attack again. Yi Chen guessed that it was probably because the Dark Profound had the ability to block out the senses. After all, his soul power had been weakened 80 to 90% by the black screen. When Murong Qingqing dispersed the black screen, Yi Chen realized that there was no one 3 li away from him. This Dark Profound of yours is indeed powerful. Yi Chen praised. Murong Qingqing said, unfortunately, there is only one defensive martial art. Being able to learn the Dark Profound will benefit me a lot. In the future, I will be able to create my own profound martial art based on the characteristics of the Dark Profound. Ever since the Sky Thunder Cut and Gold Resonant Radiance sword art had both reached completion, reaching 130% respectively, Yi Chen had already started to study new sword movements. After all, the Sky Thunder Cut and the Gold Resonant Radiance sword art were a bit too low, unable to contain the Thunder Profound and Gold Profound. In Yi Chen's eyes, the sword movements were like a container, and the Profound was the water. Once the water was full, it would be completed. But once the water overflowed, it meant that the Profound had surpassed the sword movements level, since there were still mid-rank Profound sword movements above the low-rank Profound. Who are you people? Dozens of miles away, the group of people who had tried to sneak attack Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing had been stopped by a group of men in black robes. These people's bodies were very vague, looking like black smoke or floating shadows, giving people the feeling that they did not have any mass. The leading man laughed. The puppet cannon is not bad. Leave it, and I will not kill you. Why? Before he could finish, the leading man's body suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in the crowd. Shoo, shoo, shoo. After a couple of rounds, the group of people who were planning to sneak attack Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng had all fallen down, their chests pierced through. Taking away these people's storage rings, the leading man opened them one by one and soon found 3 godly martial puppet cannons. Not bad. These 3 cannons are the top of the top-rank puppets. Another man in black said, I did not expect this group of trash to have puppet cannons. But, it seems like we have gotten lucky. The puppet cannons are an unexpected gain. But, killing that young man named Yi Chen and taking that girl is our real goal this time. That Yi Chen is not simple. No wonder he could take off Duan Lungya's right arm and make the ice pavilion angry. They took out 2 million top-rank soul stones to hire our assassins. That price is enough to kill 10 normal Master Level C of Souls Realm warriors. No, not 2 million top-rank soul stones, it is 3 million. Don't forget, all of their wealth is ours as well. Second leader, when should we do it? No rush. Taking that girl would be easy. As for killing Yi Chen, it would be a bit difficult. I do not want to lose half of our men just to complete the mission. It would not fit our motto. Either we do not kill, or we do not kill. We, the assassins of the Ghost Shadow Pavilion, have never failed in our mission in the past 10 years. Unfortunately, that girl. Once we hand her over to the Ice Pavilion, she would be doomed. What can we do? We are paid to do it. Plus, you guys are not good people either. I do not believe that you would not be tempted. Second leader, you are so smart. Chapter 606. Among the top 10 cities in the world, the Sky Marshal region had 4. The Xianming city was a super city near the northern regions. Within the Xianming city, it snowed all year round, and the weather was dark and gloomy. There were often strong gusts of wind that could blow away houses that were not very sturdy, and could also blow ordinary people with low cultivation into the sky. In a manor in the city, Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng had been living a peaceful life. When they were free, they would make tea and chat, and forget about each other. Of course, the two did not forget to cultivate. On the empty ground of the manor covered in snow, Yi Chen held a normal sword in his hand. His body moved, and the sword light danced in the air. Beams of gold light shot out from the tip of the sword. Sword art does not have to be as complicated as possible. It should be as close to the profound as possible. If I can get close to the profound, I will get twice the result with half the effort. If I can't get close to the profound, I will get half the result with twice the effort. The metal profound is all about sharpness, but I always feel that it is missing something. The metal yuan qi turned into sword qi crisscrossed, and with a few cracking sounds, the thick layer of frost on the surface of the lake was cut open. The lake water surged up, and as the sword qi increased, the frost was broken into pieces, and some of it was directly turned into powder by the sword qi, turning into ice water. In the lake, circles of ripples spread out. Inadvertently glancing at the lake, Yi Chen stopped what he was doing and stared at the ripples on the lake. Metal, water, right, metal gives birth to water. Something in Yi Chen's mind seemed to have been opened, and he suddenly understood. Generally speaking, gold begets water begets wood begets fire begets earth, and earth begets gold. Generally speaking, gold mines are always found near rivers, which means that wherever there is gold, there must be water. As for gold begets water, it doesn't mean that when the metal melts, it will turn into liquid metal. Instead, when the metal is left for a period of time, there will be water droplets on the surface of the metal. In a deeper sense, the metal's temperature will moisturize the metal. Therefore, if one wanted to create a sword movement that was more suitable for the metal profound, they couldn't just focus on the metal element, but also on the water element. After figuring out the breakthrough, Yi Chen continued to practice his sword art. It could be seen that Yi Chen's sword art no longer pursued sharpness and fierceness. Gradually, there was a gentleness to it. This gentleness did not make the sharpness of the sword art dissipate. Instead, it made the sword art more resilient and offensive, increasing its lethality. 3 days later. Roar. A crisp sound of a sword rang out. Yi Chen waved his sword, and a few streaks of golden sword chi spread out like ripples towards the fake mountain next to the lake. The rockery did not move at all. With a smile on his face, Yi Chen pushed out with his left hand, and a palm wind blew out. Swoosh. The fake mountain was shattered into pieces, falling onto the ground. The cut was smooth and clean, as if it had been carefully polished. There was not even a single speck of dust on it. Normally, when he used his gold profound sword art to cut, there would be some dust. That was because the sword chi was too sharp and aggressive, which made the power spread out. The gentleness had made the sword chi even more condensed. This attack is still in its early stages, but I have finally found the right path. Since it was inspired by water, I will call it Gold Pattern. Gold Pattern. It was the first mid-rank profound sword art that Yi Chen had created. Its power was twice as powerful as the gold resonant radiant sword art, and that was because it had not been completed yet. Once it was completed, even normal mid-rank profound martial arts would not be able to reach such a level of power. Because this attack was no longer just a simple gold profound sword art. On this day, the sky was clear, which was rare for it to be. White snow covered the sky, and everything was covered in silver. I have been here for a couple of days, and I still have not had the chance to walk around the Xianming city. Let's go for a walk. After spending some time together, the relationship between Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng had developed naturally. The two were enjoying each other's warmth as they walked out of the mansion hand in hand. Xianming City was one of the top 10 cities in the world, so the flow of people was astonishing. Once the sky cleared up, the streets were filled with people. There were martial artists with sabers and swords, peddlers and servants, travel-worn merchants, and young masters and ladies of rich families. Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng walked in the crowd, looking like cranes among chickens. After walking for a while, the two arrived at a restaurant and sat by the window. Have you heard? On the 18th of September, Xia Hozuan from the Godly Finger Martial School is going to battle with Bai Wuxue on the Nine Dragon Mountain. Suddenly, someone said a shocking piece of news. What? Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxue are going to battle? Is this news true? Of course it is. Right now, this news has spread all over the Sky Martial region. The Xianming city is located in the north of the region, so it would take a bit longer for the news to arrive. The top 5 young warriors challenging each other is such a grand occasion. Normally, they would not do it in a big way, and would only do it in the dark. Once they challenge each other, they would have to have a winner, and it would be very intense. In the past 5 years, only the sword master had challenged Xiao Chuhe once. That time, it was the sword master who was slightly more powerful, wounding Xiao Chuhe with one sword attack. But I heard that Xiao Chuhe's power had already grown to an unpredictable level. So, I would not say that he is weaker than the sword master. Moreover, Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxue have never revealed their full power. I did not expect that they would challenge each other this time. Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng heard all of these people, and they could not help but be interested. The 18th of September. There is still 1.5 months from now. Murong Qingcheng said. Yi Chen said, I have seen Bai Wuxue once before. His power is unpredictable, and his aura is everywhere. He is much more powerful than Lin Tian, Mu, and Yun He. The top 5 young warriors should all be at the peak of the Sea of Souls realm. If they continue to break through, they would be heading toward the life and death realm. I wonder if those famous master-level warriors from the older generation would be able to compete with these 5. Murong Qingcheng said. Yi Chen shook his head. There might not be many who could beat the top 5 young warriors. Of course, it is not like there are none. The leader of the Dragon God Celestial Palace, Zhong Zhangguang, is already close to the top 5 young warriors. As for the other 4 palaces, such as the Black Dragon Palace, Azure Dragon Palace, White Dragon Palace, and Red Dragon Palace, there might be some palace leaders who are as powerful as the top 5 young warriors, or even more powerful. There are also the top 3 Blade Master level warriors. Xiao Chuhe had only beaten one of them, Shen Qianlang. Yeah. Murong Qingcheng nodded and laughed. Right now, there are rumors in the Sky Martial region saying that you are the #1 warrior just below the top 5 young warriors. Even Dugu Ju and Dantai Mingyu have been left behind by you. Yi Chen chuckled. That is not necessarily true. You know that I have improved really fast in the past couple of months, and now I have slowed down. So, the others must have their periods of rapid improvement and slow improvement as well. Sometimes, it does not mean much. As the two were talking, the restaurant became more and more lively. You guys, who do you think is stronger? Xia Hozuan or Bai Wuxue? That is hard to say. Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxue both have their own glorious sides. Xia Hozuan is one of the top master-level warriors in finger arts, while Bai Wuxue is the only Sea of Souls realm warrior who made it out of the blood-crying ghost region alive in the past 20 years. Without a battle, it would be hard to tell who is stronger. Although that is the case, I still think Xia Hozuan will win. You did not see his finger art. It is so shocking. I heard that it is something called the void-shattering finger, which contains the space profound. Space profound. Gasps were heard one after another. Yi Chen's pupils had shrunk as well. Yi Chen, what is it? Murong Qingcheng asked. Yi Chen forced a smile and said, You should know that I have a finger art, which also contains the space profound. It is called the void-shattering finger. If I have guessed it right, Xia Hozuan's void-shattering finger and my void-shattering finger come from the same source. They are two movements of the void-shattering finger. Two movements of the void-shattering finger? So, besides the two of you, there might be other void-shattering finger arts out there? Yi Chen said, I do not know how many movements of the void-shattering finger arts Xia Hozuan has. But, he and I will cross paths in the future. I just do not know where things will go. The void-shattering finger art and the white key that he got from the Goathead Mountain contained a shocking treasure. Until now, Yi Chen still did not know what it represented. He vaguely knew that it was a graveyard, the graveyard of a titled emperor. Of course, it was just a literal understanding, and no one knew what it actually was. After all, there were just too few clues. Then, you should try not to expose your void-shattering finger art in the future. Murong Qingcheng reminded him. Yi Chen said, I will. This battle between Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxue is a great opportunity for me. Perhaps, my void-shattering finger art will also make a breakthrough to the profound level. Without even thinking about it, Xia Hozuan's achievement in the void-shattering finger art would definitely be higher than Yi Chen's, since he was at least 10 years older than Yi Chen. Otherwise, he would not have been able to become one of the top 5 young warriors. Xia Hozuan would definitely use his void-shattering finger art during his battle with Bai Wuxue. By then, Yi Chen would be able to observe his void-shattering finger art and learn the profound of space. Haha, it is less than a month and a half until the 18th of September. With my speed, I should be able to reach the 9-Dragon Mountain just in time. After drinking, I will leave immediately. You are right. It would be such a pity if I did not go and take a look at such a grand occasion. Plus, the top 5 young warriors have invited each other to battle, so all of the top young warriors in the world would definitely come to watch. Not just the top young warriors, even the master-level warriors from the older generation would come. They would also like to see how powerful the top 5 young warriors are. The news about the battle between Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxue was just too shocking. The atmosphere in the restaurant was extremely heated, and it had not calmed down yet. Let's go. Putting down a piece of gold, Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng walked out of the restaurant. Among the people who were drinking, someone accidentally glanced at Yi Chen from the side. He poked the person next to him and said, Why do I feel like he looks a bit like Yi Chen who had beaten Lin Tian? Yi Chen? Let me see. The person next to him looked over and frowned. Then, he looked at Murong Qingcheng who was right next to Yi Chen. It is Yi Chen. After what happened in the Westling city, there was a lady in a purple dress with a light veil on her face right next to Yi Chen. Yi Chen. Everyone's attention had been attracted, but unfortunately, Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng had already walked out of the restaurant. There was a rumor in the Sky Martial region that Yi Chen was the top young warrior just below the top 5 young warriors. This news had already reached the Xianming city. Chapter 607. Back at the mansion, the two didn't go to the Nine-Dragon Mountain right away. Although the Nine-Dragon Mountain was far away, the two both had flying puppets, which could fly day and night. In less than half a month, they would be able to get to the Nine-Dragon Mountain. Plus, it was not pointless for them to stay here. They were waiting for the news from the pavilion. The pavilion had 10 branches in total, and they were all located in the top 10 cities in the world. There were also some branches in smaller cities, but they were only used to collect information, and they did not accept inquiries. Arriving at the Xianming city, Yi Chen spent a large amount of top-rank soul stones to ask the pavilion to help him gather information about the last 3 materials. He promised that he would have a reply in a month, and it had already been half a month. The night came, and the entire Xianming city was in darkness. Formation. In the cold wind, groups of people in black suddenly appeared from all directions, heading towards the mansion that Yi Chen was in. There were 49 of them in total, but they did not enter the mansion. Instead, they waited outside, and each of them formed a hand seal. The hand seals were exactly the same, and the speed at which they formed the hand seals was exactly the same. It was not hard to imagine that they had practiced this technique hundreds and thousands of times, without a single mistake. As they formed the hand seals, circles of black shadows spread out with them as the center. There was a slight difference between the black shadows and the night sky, which was that it was completely black, and would not reflect any light. 49 people and 49 black shadows combined together, eventually forming a massive black light shield that covered the entire mansion. From the outside, it looked like the mansion had disappeared into thin air. Inside the mansion, sneak attack. Yi Chen walked out of the house and stepped on the snowy ground, and Murong Qingcheng followed him. The two raised their heads. The sky was pitch black, and there were no stars at all. Looking out of the mansion, the buildings outside the mansion seemed to have disappeared as well, and there was only darkness. Swoosh! Yi Chen pointed his finger at the darkness, and a ray of sword qi shot out like a beam of light. Without a sound, the sword qi disappeared into the darkness. Such a powerful formation. It has formed a ward. Yi Chen's eyes focused as he said. Ward. Murong Qingcheng had heard of this term before, but she didn't know much about it. A barrier can be said to be a kind of domain. This kind of domain separates us from the outside world. Inside the barrier, no matter what happens, it will be difficult for the outside world to know unless the barrier is broken. Of course, this is only the most basic ability of a barrier. Murong Qingcheng said, such a meticulous plan, it should be a powerful assassination force. I wonder which assassination force it is. This enchantment contains the profound of shadow. If I have guessed it right, the people who created this array are assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. The Ghost Shadow Pavilion is the #1 assassin in the whole continent, and the leader of the pavilion, the Shor ancestor, is the #1 assassin in the whole world. He also has 4 assassin kings under his command. But, the Shor ancestor and the assassin kings have nothing to do with us, since they would not need to use life and death realm warriors to assassinate us. Otherwise, the whole continent would be in chaos already. Facing a crisis that he had never encountered before, Yi Chen did not panic too much. Panicking would only give the assassin an opportunity, which would not help the situation. Outside the dark shadow barrier, a group of men in black that had appeared near the town walked out. Being able to force us to use the 7 extreme ghost shadow spell, this Yi Chen should be proud of himself even if he dies. In the past 10 years, this is the 3rd time we have used it. The leading man in black said, for normal master level C of Soul's Realm warriors, 2 or 3 of us would be enough. But for a famous master level C of Soul's Realm warrior, we would need a set of careful plans. But, according to the information we have gathered, this Yi Chen's survival ability is extremely horrifying. Therefore, I had no choice but to ask for permission to use the 7 extreme ghost shadow spell, and they had agreed to send out 49 support killers to help us. The Ghost Shadow Pavilion had its own rules. They would only have 1 chance to assassinate someone, and if they failed, they would not be able to do it again. Of course, it was not because the Ghost Shadow Pavilion was kind-hearted, but because of the pressure from all sides. Since there were more powerful parties than just the Ghost Shadow Pavilion in the whole continent, if they made the public angry, then they would not be able to stay in the whole continent anymore. Even so, there were still people who came to cause trouble for the Ghost Shadow Pavilion, trying to take them out. There is only one chance. I do not want any failures under my leadership. Don't worry, second leader. With the help of the 7 extreme Ghost Shadow spell, this assassination will not fail at all. I don't even think we will need to use it. Do not be too careless. I have a feeling that this assassination will be the most difficult one. The leading man in black, who was called the second leader, was not saying it out of nowhere. After being an assassin for a long time, one would have a feeling in their heart. If the other targets were prey in his eyes, then Yi Chen would be the hunter. No matter how powerful the prey was, it would still be captured, and the hunter would most likely turn the tables and try to assassinate them. All right, let's move. Open a door. The leading man in black looked cold as he ordered one of the killers who had set up the ward. Yes. The killer who had set up the ward changed his hand seal, and a door appeared on the pitch-black light cover. It was still pitch black inside the door. Shoo. The group of people walked in, and the door was closed. In the manor, black shadows were everywhere, like a group of demons dancing. These black shadows could appear anywhere. In the trees, in the snow, in the air, in the buildings, in the flowers, and even in the lake, there were black shadows coming out. If one thought that the black shadows had no killing power, then it would be a big mistake. These black shadows should be controlled by the killers who had set up the ward, and they had extraordinary killing power. The black shadows could also materialize and assassinate 2 people. Swoosh. Slashing a black shadow with his sword, Yi Chen realized that this black shadow seemed to have an immortal body, and it would quickly regenerate. Curtain of darkness. Murong Qingcheng used the dark profound, and a black light cover appeared, protecting Yi Chen and herself. Bang! The dark profound was very magical, and it could stop the black shadows from invading. But it was useless. Although the black shadows outside couldn't come in, the curtain of darkness was inside the ward, so the space inside the curtain of darkness would produce new black shadows to assassinate them. Dispersing the curtain of darkness, Murong Qingcheng frowned. Although these black shadows can't do anything to us, being trapped inside is not a good thing. Yi Chen said indifferently, wait, the trump card will come soon. Although the ward was powerful, it was just a supporting function. The real assassin would be the killer, and that would be the most thrilling battle. Die. Among the black shadows, there were some slightly different black shadows. These black shadows weren't exposed to Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng's sight, but they were hiding behind other black shadows. At this moment, several black shadows shot over. After being cut, one of them materialized, and a purple dagger appeared in his hand. The tip of the dagger was purple, and it was obviously poisonous. Swoosh. The dagger stabbed into the back of Yi Chen's heart. Success. Watch out. The killer didn't have time to be happy, as he saw that he had stabbed a black shadow. The black shadow disappeared, and a cold voice came from behind him. Shadow profound, I know it too. Crack. The killer's head was twisted by a hand, and his face was full of shock, as if he was asking who the killer was. Bastard, this guy knows shadow profound too. The other killers who had snuck in gritted their teeth. At the same time, they couldn't help but shiver. A prey that knew shadow profound was many times more dangerous than a prey at the same level. Shoo. After killing one killer, Yi Chen's body twisted, turning into a black shadow and rushing into the area where the black shadows gathered. Good chance. I will go catch that girl now, and make him hesitate. Another killer's face flashed with joy. Without making a sound, he started to approach Murong Qingcheng. Murong Qingcheng's pupils suddenly opened. There was another pupil inside, and it was a black vertical eye. Glancing around, she saw a faint human shadow flying over. Flying sky assassination cut. Murong Qingcheng threw out a palm attack. Boom. That killer was blown away, puking out blood from his mouth. You are indeed worthy of the perfect demi-demon bloodline. You can see through the shadow profound. Unfortunately, your vision is too narrow. A faint human shadow appeared behind Murong Qingcheng again, pointing at the acupuncture point on the back of her neck. Are you talking about yourself? Yi Chen had appeared behind him out of nowhere. The 3 of them were in a straight line. Behind Murong Qingcheng was the killer, and behind the killer was Yi Chen. What? Impossible. When did he get here? The killer's face was full of fear. Reaching out his right hand, Yi Chen grabbed the killer's head. With a twist of his wrist, the killer's head was turned around, facing Yi Chen. Be careful. Yi Chen naturally knew about Murong Qingcheng's abilities. She was not an ordinary person. She had cultivated a demi-body, and she also had the perfect demi-demon bloodline. Anyway, she was clearly different from humans. Her assassination skills were much better than most people. Yeah, I know. Murong Qingcheng, on the other hand, was quite impressed by Yi Chen's unpredictability. Even she did not know how he got here, so she guessed that he must have used some kind of trick. The black shadows inside the barrier were endless. Murong Qingcheng's demon eyes could only see through 1 or 2 layers of black shadows. If there were more layers of black shadows, the demon eyes would be useless. After all, the shadow profound was not an ordinary one. It was a profound used for assassination. Soul destruction wave. Facing the incoming black shadows, Murong Qingcheng reached out her palm. A black light ball was condensed, and she clenched her fist. Buzz. The black light ball exploded, shooting out in a fan shape. Ah! An assassin could not bear the soul attack and showed himself. With a flash, Murong Qingcheng chopped off the assassin's head. On the other side, Yi Chen killed another assassin. In total, 4 assassins had died in the hands of Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng. However, in the following confrontation, Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng both found that the assassins were getting more and more powerful. In other words, the ones who died earlier were the weaker ones. The ones who survived were all elite assassins who had experienced hundreds of battles. Humph, I finally tested your bottom line. Next, you two will not be able to escape from our palms. Yi Chen knew the shadow profound, and Murong Qingcheng had the demon eyes. This was the consensus of the remaining assassins. Soul eyes, open. Right at this moment, a slit appeared between Yi Chen's brows, and a silver radiance leaked out. In the manner, all the assassins had nowhere to hide. Chapter 608. The killers from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion did not know how powerful Yi Chen's soul eye was. Although they felt a bit uneasy, they did not do anything. Plus, even if they knew about the power of the soul eye, there was no way out for them. The duration of the soul eye was very short, so Yi Chen had to finish the battle as soon as possible. Therefore, the second he opened it, he threw out a sword attack toward the 2 killers not far away. It was the gold pattern that he had just learned. Shoo, shoo. A couple of messy gold sword chi spread out like a pattern, and the 2 killers were instantly cut into pieces. There was no blood coming out from the wounds, as it was all sealed inside their bodies. This was the horrifying part of the gold pattern. The power only traveled in one line, and the power that leaked out was very little. Die. Yi Chen's sharp counterattack had made the killers from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion panic a bit. One of them, who had been hiding very well and was getting closer to Yi Chen, could not hold it in anymore. His body appeared from the crowd of black shadows. He had 2 ghost claws on his hands, which were shining with a dim light. Within a second, dozens of claw shadows had been shot out. Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. Yi Chen did not panic at all as he reached his left hand into his waist, holding his gold sword in a reverse grip. He threw out a sword attack, the dark blue sword light shining brightly. Swoosh! The claw shadow split apart, and a red line appeared on the killer's face. Blood poured out from the red line, and in the next second, his whole body was cut in half. Is he a human or a ghost? The rest of the killers saw this scene and started to panic for the first time. Up until now, they had not even touched Yi Chen, but he had already killed 6 of them. They were all ghost killers who had killed Master Level C of Soul's Realm warriors before. But now, they had all been killed by Yi Chen, and they had not even found a way to kill Yi Chen yet. Do not waste time with him. Capture that woman. Finally, these killers understood that it was impossible to kill Yi Chen now. Only by capturing Murong Qingcheng would they have a chance. Even if it did not work out, they could still use Murong Qingcheng to complete the mission, since the mission was divided into 2 parts. One was to kill Yi Chen, and the other was to take Murong Qingcheng away. Swish, swish, swish. All the assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion pounced on Murong Qingcheng at the same time. As for the black shadows controlled by the assassins who had set up the wizardry barriers, they surrounded Yi Chen and prevented him from helping. For a moment, Murong Qingcheng and Yi Chen were separated. Curtain of darkness. Murong Qingcheng was not an existence that could be killed at will. The curtain of darkness could not stop the incorporeal shadows, but it could stop the assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of explosions rang out continuously. The assassins of the Ghost Shadow Pavilion were blocked outside the black barrier. Shadow stab. An extremely powerful assassin from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion had a ferocious look on his face. He pierced through the black barrier with one strike, and his body flashed as he dashed inside. Little bitch, when I catch you, I'll take good care of you. If you want to blame someone, blame your sweetheart. This assassin from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion was very afraid of Yi Chen, and this fear gave birth to ruthlessness. This time, even if he could not kill Yi Chen, he would make him suffer. How arrogant. Murong Qingcheng's pupils were vertical, which was the demon eye she had after cultivating the demon body. With the demon eye, she could see every move of her opponent. Boom. The two exchanged one move, and the assassin from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion had the upper hand. He changed his footwork, and the assassin turned into a wisp of black smoke, approaching Murong Qingcheng in a flash. His movement and flying skill were indeed unexpected. Even if Murong Qingcheng's speed was not any slower than his, it still gave the illusion that she could not block it. Swoosh. Two black shadows spread out behind Murong Qingcheng. They were not the shadows inside the wizardry barriers, nor were they the assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. They were a pair of black bat wings that were 1 meter long. The black bat wings stretched out from Murong Qingcheng's shoulder blades, and a wave of horrifying demon power spread out crazily. What? After missing his attack, the assassin realized that Murong Qingcheng had disappeared, and what was left was only a shadow. What was even more frightening was that because Murong Qingcheng's speed was too fast, her aura was still lingering on the shadow. No matter how good his eyes were, no matter how sharp his senses were, he would not be able to tell the real one from the fake one. Flying assassination cut. With the black bat wings on her back, Murong Qingcheng performed her profound sense martial art perfectly. It was obvious that she was not as powerful as her opponent, but she was still able to beat him. Looking from afar, this assassin was surrounded by Murong Qingcheng's shadows, which kept attacking the assassin in the middle. They were as fast as black shooting stars, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Being surrounded by so many black shadows, Yi Chen was not too worried, since he already knew about Murong Qingcheng's hidden power. For example, the demon eyes and the black bat wings. The demon eyes were formed naturally after training the demonic body, since the eyes were also part of the demonic body. Meanwhile, the black bat wings were Murong Qingcheng's special power. If Yuan Yi's special power was the strengthening of defense, then Murong Qingcheng's special power would be the strengthening of speed, and this pair of black bat wings would be the key to that. Ting. Dang. Dang. From being at a disadvantage to having the upper hand, Murong Qingcheng's attacking power had increased drastically. Of course, it would still be impossible for her to kill her opponent within a short period of time. Let's go together. The rest of the killers from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion jumped up after the black wall disappeared. They turned into countless black shadows, trying to kill Murong Qingcheng. Murong Qingcheng had fallen into a disadvantage again, and her route of movement was constantly blocked by the killers from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. Break. 100 steps away, Yi Chen crossed his two swords in front of him, breaking through the black shadow's blockade. Amaranthine nature. A sword light flashed once outside of his body as Yi Chen caught a killer from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion and threw out a sword attack. Swoosh. There were not many people who could dodge the amaranthine nature, and it obviously did not include the one who had been hit by the sword. The soul eye is about to close. Feeling the pain in between his eyebrows, Yi Chen seized the last chance and threw out a couple of sword attacks. Dozens of messy gold sword chi spread out, killing a lot of the killers from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. Only one killer from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion was still fighting against Murong Qingcheng. Pap. The soul eye had finally closed. However, Yi Chen did not really need it anymore. Run. That killer from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion ran towards the edge of the barrier. Where do you think you are going? Yi Chen followed closely behind him. Let's die together. Realizing that he could not escape, that killer suddenly turned around. Intense black light shone out of his eyes, nose, mouth, and mouth. He was going to explode himself. Unfortunately, Yi Chen's sword was so fast that it pierced through his eyebrows. After killing the last killer from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion, Yi Chen slightly relaxed his nerves. During this short period of time, he seemed to be very relaxed, but he was actually extremely tense. He did not dare to make a single mistake, because he knew that he was facing the best killer in the whole continent. Abruptly, a figure jumped out from the shadow of the rockery on the right side of Yi Chen. He was the leader of this group of killers, and was called the deputy leader. You will not escape death after all. The deputy leader's face was full of joy. He did not expect that he would lose so many warriors to kill Yi Chen. Almost all of them had been killed. But it was all over now. At least he had survived and completed the mission. He did not care too much about the loss of his warriors. As an assassin, he would die sooner or later. Oh yeah. Yi Chen did not have enough time to dodge, and he could not even block out the attack. However, he still had enough time to activate his dragon power. The dragon power combined with his physical body covered his entire body. All of a sudden, a layer of white bone appeared on his skin. A light pressure spread out, and even the air seemed to have frozen. Boom! The second leader of the Ghost Shadow Pavilion had pierced through Yi Chen's protective Jinyuan layer and landed on his chest. Even with the gold armor, Yi Chen would still be wounded badly. Once he was wounded badly, he would not be able to compete with the second leader of the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. However, with the protection of the dragon bone layer, he had only backed out for dozens of steps, and there was not a single wound on his body. 3 layers of defense. One was the protective Jinyuan, the second was the gold armor, and the last was the dragon bone defense. If Yi Chen was wounded, then it would be really strange. After all, assassins were not that powerful in terms of attacking power. What they studied was assassination. Impossible. The deputy leader was shocked. It was not that he had never seen prey with powerful defense before, but he had never seen one like Yi Chen. If all the targets had this kind of defense, then there would be no need for the Ghost Shadow Pavilion to exist anymore. After all, if he could not even break through their defense, then how could he assassinate them? Unless the target did not have any defense and came to him on his own. Gold pattern. With the dragon bone defense, Yi Chen did not feel much of the vibration. Plus, because of the dragon power, his body was extremely powerful. His qi and blood only shook a little before returning to normal. Activating his Jinyuan, Yi Chen held his breath and waved out a sword attack. Dang! 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 The deputy leader was very powerful, only slightly weaker than Yi Chen, and almost at the same level as Lin Tianmu and Yun He. Soul extinguishing wave. Murong Qingcheng appeared from the side with an extremely fast speed. She threw out her ace attack right from the start. The unique soul attack landed on the deputy leader's soul sea. Not good. Even though Murong Qingcheng's comprehension of the soul extinguishing wave had not reached completion yet, it was still enough to make the deputy leader's face turn pale, and he felt dizzy. Die. This time, Yi Chen took care of the deputy leader smoothly. The scattered golden sword qi sliced him into pieces, sending his limbs flying everywhere. Mission failed. Back out. Seeing the deputy leader die, the 49 assassins who had set up the ward all stopped their attacks, dispelling the ward. They then ran in different directions, disappearing into the night. They sure ran away fast. Yi Chen did not plan to chase after them, since he knew about the rules of the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. There was only one chance to assassinate a target. Once the mission failed, there would be no more assassinations. Of course, there were some exceptions. The black bat wings on her back flapped as Murong Qingcheng put them away and sighed. If they had not run into us, they would have more than 90% chance of succeeding. There are always people who are not afraid of assassination, and we are one of them. Time flew by, and half a month had passed. Right then, news came from the pavilion as well. Out of the 3 materials, only one of them was in the hands of a rank 6 martial institution, which happened to be on the way to the 9-Dragon Mountain. Therefore, Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng left for the 9-Dragon Mountain immediately. Chapter 609. The Flowing Spring Valley was one of the many rank 6 martial institutions in the Sky Martial region. The leader of the valley, Hua Yingmai, was a rare female leader. Her power was not weak at all, and she was also a Master Level C of Soul's Realm warrior. As a veteran rank 6 martial institution in the Sky Martial region, there was no reason for her not to know about Yi Chen. Therefore, she seemed to be very friendly toward Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng's visit. Yi Chen exchanged a few words with them before telling them the reason for their visit. Hearing him, Hua Yingmai frowned and forced a smile. If you two had come a few months earlier, I would have given the fruit to you for sure. Unfortunately, you came at a bad time. The only fruit in our martial institution has already been made into a pellet with other ingredients. Yi Chen said, I heard that there is a phoenix plume tree in the Flowing Spring Valley. Could it be that this tree only has one fruit? Hua Yingmai knew that the other party suspected that she was evading, so she explained, a phoenix plume tree that is thousands of years old will naturally have more than one phoenix plume fruit, but the phoenix plume tree of our sect is only 900 years old. It blooms every 3 years and bears fruit every 3 years. If you two don't believe me, I can take you to see the phoenix plume tree. I believe that with your eyesight, you should be able to see the phoenix plume tree. That will not be necessary. Yi Chen also knew that the maturity of the phoenix plume tree had something to do with the number of fruits. Since she had already said it, it would be disrespectful of him if he still doubted her. Warrior Yi is in urgent need of the fruit. Hua Yingmai asked. Yi Chen nodded, I need it to make an antidote for saving people. Hua Yingmai said, Young hero Yi, perhaps you can go to the northern sector's desolate fire region to take a look. Our sect's phoenix plume tree was transplanted from the desolate fire region. Although I don't know if there's a second phoenix plume tree there, it's better than no hope. Desolate fire region? That was the barbarian race's territory. 2/3 of the entire northern regions were the barbarian race's territory, while the remaining 1/3 was occupied by other races. Where exactly is the desolate fire region? A region was just too huge. Even a life and death realm warrior would not be able to explore the entire region without leaving a single gap in his or her entire life. This phoenix plume tree was found in the western part of the barbaric mountains. I have a map here that I can give to young hero Yi. Hua Yingmai took out an aged map from her storage ring and handed it over to Yi Chen. This map did not have much value to her anyway, so she might as well do him a favor. Yi Chen took the map and opened it. The map only outlined the terrain of the barbaric mountains. Everything else was drawn with lines. Putting away the map, Yi Chen said emotionally, Everyone says that leader Hua is a kind person. Now that I have seen him, it is indeed true. I can see that you are at peak level late C of Soul's Realm, and you should be accumulating your Jin Yuan to prepare for breaking through to the life and death realm. How about this? I have a couple of plants here as a thank you gift. Hua Yingmai wanted to reject it, but she said, breaking through to the life and death realm is not that easy. I can only try my best. As for the thank you gift, forget it. I did not help you that much anyway. Yi Chen chuckled, Valley leader Hua, don't be in such a hurry to reject me. The herbs that I want to give you are the necessary materials for making extreme rank heaven spirit pellets. If you can find the other leftovers, you can make a batch of extreme rank heaven spirit pellets, which would save you at least 10 years of hard work. As he spoke, Yi Chen took out a couple of plants with powerful spirit chi. The necessary materials for making extreme rank heaven spirit pellet. Hua Yingmai was shocked. Breaking through to the life and death realm would require way too much Jin Yuan. Although her cultivation was still far from the life and death realm, and she might not be able to reach it in this lifetime, who would have the confidence to make it? If she did not prepare well, there would be no hope at all. If she really had a furnace of extreme rank heaven spirit pellets, it would indeed save her at least 10 years of hard work. Plus, even if she could not reach the life and death realm in the future, she would still have the chance to reach half-step king warrior. Hua Yingmai blushed a bit. Before, she had rejected it, but now she was hesitating again. Here, leader Hua. Yi Chen handed the plants to him. Although these plants were precious, he had quite a lot of them, and they were all from the Treasure River Island and the Savage Ancient Place. Most of them were from the Treasure River Island. Unfortunately, it was already hidden, otherwise, he would like to go there again. Valley Master Hua took the herbs and said seriously, I only helped young hero Yi with a small matter, but young hero Yi gave me a big gift. If there's anything you need help with in the future, just tell me. My flowing spring valley has some connections. Then I will leave now. Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng stood up and said goodbye. Leaving the palace, the two walked toward the entrance of the valley. This leader is quite easy to talk to. Murong Qingcheng laughed. Yi Chen nodded. As the leader of a martial school, leader Hua's attitude is indeed admirable. He might even have a chance to reach the life and death realm. As they spoke, the two arrived at the entrance of the valley, got on the flying puppet, and flew toward the Nine-Dragon Mountain. The Nine-Dragon Mountain was one of the most famous mountains in the Sky Martial region. It was huge, no smaller than a mid-sized mountain range. It looked like it was surrounded by 9 dragons. Along the way, Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng could see Sea of Souls realm warriors flying toward the Nine-Dragon Mountain. Some of them were alone, while some were in groups, which were obviously the disciples of the big martial institutions. Some of them were riding on vicious flying beasts, looking quite extraordinary. All in all, the Nine-Dragon Mountain had become the most popular place. Haha, brother Yi, what a coincidence. On the right, Hai Wu Ya and his junior brothers and sisters were approaching on a water-type flying demonic beast. Yi Chen chuckled, oh, it is brother Hai. The two of them exchanged a few words before introducing each other to the people beside them. Brother Yi, it has been a couple of months since I last saw you. Your name has become quite famous in the Sky Martial region. Everyone says that you are the #1 warrior just below the top 5 young warriors. To be honest, when Hai Wuya first heard the news, he was indeed shocked. All of them had the dragon blood plant, and they had all trained some of it. But the improvement was not that huge. At most, it would be a small increase. On the other hand, Yi Chen had already surpassed most of the famous young warriors. Yi Chen forced a smile. Times have changed. I guess a lot of people do not like me anymore. You are right. Besides the top 5 young warriors, no one would dare to call themselves the #1 warrior. Therefore, a lot of people do not like you. I guess there will be a lot of people who will challenge you. It is inevitable. Let's see who is more powerful with our moves. Yi Chen did not care much about it. There would be a price to pay for being famous. If one did not want to pay the price, then it would be best not to be famous at all. As long as you are confident. Hai Wuya changed the topic, speaking of which, this battle between Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxue has caused quite a big commotion. All of the young warriors want to see the gap between them and the top 5 young warriors. Those older generation master level warriors also want to know how powerful the top 5 young warriors are, and if they have the power to threaten them. Anyway, this battle might be a meeting of master level warriors, and there will be a lot of people there. I guess half of all the master level warriors in the whole True Spirit continent will be there. Yi Chen said, the battle between Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxue would also be beneficial to the people watching. I think that is the main reason. Yeah, indeed. Yes, that is indeed the case. Cultivation base, will, and profound sense are all part of one's basic strength. Everyone has them, but when two people with similar basic strength meet each other, there might be a huge gap. For example, the profound sense contained in the low-grade profound sense martial arts are all about the same, so no one will be able to surpass the other by much. However, why would there be a difference in the power? That is because of the difference in martial art styles and usage. Moreover, the profound sense martial arts created by oneself and the profound sense of others are the same, but the profound sense martial arts created by oneself are more suitable for oneself, and can display the extreme power. There are too many of them, and it is impossible to judge a person's strength from the basic strength. You still have to look at the battle power. 3 days later, Yi Chen and the group of people arrived at the Nine-Dragon Mountain. Hai Wuya said, Xia Hozuan and Bai Wushue's battle location is right in the middle of the Nine Dragon Mountain, the Nine Dragon Lake. Let's go. When Yi Chen and the group arrived at the Nine Dragon Lake, it was already surrounded by people. Some of them seemed to be enjoying themselves, building pavilions and even wooden houses near the lake. Following what Yi Chen and the others had done, more people were building places to watch the battle. This is indeed a grand occasion. Looking around, Yi Chen could see at least hundreds of Master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors, and thousands of Sea of Souls Realm warriors. None of them were weak, and their auras were powerful. Yi Chen is here. Hai Wuya is here as well. Some of the people had recognized Yi Chen and Hai Wuya, who was quite famous. There is a small mountain over there. The Nine Dragon Lake was huge, and there were not that many people here yet. So, there was still a lot of empty space around. Yi Chen controlled his flying puppet to carry him and Murong Qingcheng over there. Hai Wuya naturally followed as well, since a small mountain was more than enough for more people to watch the battle. One of the top 3 master-level blade artists, Shen Qianlang, is here. Although Shen Qianlang had lost to Xiao Chuhe, one of the top 5 young warriors, no one doubted his power. So, the necessary respect was still necessary. Look. One of the top 3 master-level blade artists, Lin Chaonan, the leader of the Wavy Snow Palace, the Snow Sword Master, and the number 1 master-level Thunder Master of the Thunder region. Those who could be recognized by the crowd were all famous Sea of Souls Realm master-level warriors. As for those famous Sea of Souls Realm master-level warriors in certain regions, not many people knew them, since this was the Sky Martial region, the center of the continent. Without enough power and fame, no one would be able to recognize you. There were still 2 days before the battle. Within these 2 days, people started to arrive one after another. There were already more than 500 master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors. It sounded like a lot, but one should not forget that there were trillions of people in the continent. 500 master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors, and it would be normal even if there were thousands of them. After all, there would be 10 life and death realm warriors every 100 years. After 1,000 years, there would be more than 100 life and death realm warriors, not to mention master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors. The reason why the human race was so powerful was because of their huge numbers. Without enough power, no matter how powerful an individual was, it would be useless. The ancient demons had lost in terms of numbers. One day before the battle, the Nine Dragon Lake was heated up again. Xiao Chuhe is here. Sword Master, Du Guju, Yang Feng, and the leader of the top 3 master-level blade artists, Xie Beiting. In other words, Xie Beiting's status was the highest among all of them. It was because he was the leader of the top 3 master-level blade artists, and he had never been defeated before. Even the top 5 young warriors might not be able to threaten him. Chapter 610. I'm afraid this battle will be the most influential one in the past 20 years. Yang Feng and Yi Chen and Hai Wuya were from the same sect, so they naturally brought the disciples of the mysterious martial school to this small hill. Hai Wuya nodded. 5 years ago, the battle between Lu Xiaoyu and Xiao Chuhe was not this popular. But it is also because of that battle that it has brought about such a big scene today. Lu Xiaoyu was the leader of the top 3 young warriors, and also one of the top 5 young warriors. Although there were a lot of people watching the battle between him and Xiao Chuhe, it was not as big as today. But, after Xiao Chuhe had lost to Lu Xiaoyu, he had trained hard for 3 years, and his power had already reached an immeasurable level. He had even beaten Shen Qianlang, one of the top 3 blade artists, which had made the older generation of master-level warriors realize that the top 5 young warriors were not as simple as they thought. If they did not pay attention to them, then they might be beaten by the top 5 young warriors one by one. Therefore, the battle between Xia Hozuan and Bai Wushue had caused such a big commotion. Looking at the master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors that could be seen everywhere, Yi Chen could not help but shake his head. Among the older generation, not to mention master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors, even Spirit Realm warriors would be hard to find. In fact, even normal Sea of Souls Realm warriors would be extremely rare in the South Rudra region. The top 6 rank 6 martial institutions would each have 7 to 8 Sea of Souls Realm warriors, which would be around 50 in total. The Murong family had a bit more Sea of Souls Realm warriors, around 30 of them. Adding some of the Sea of Souls Realm warriors who did not belong to any martial institutions, there would be at least 100 or 200 of them. Of course, there were also some Sea of Souls Realm warriors who were out all the time and did not return to the South Rudra region. Murong Qingcheng was obviously thinking the same thing as Yi Chen. She frowned slightly, a helpless look in her eyes. South Rudra region, Yang Qihua and Li Daoxian have both reached the Sea of Souls realm. Murong Qingcheng said, I think it's about time for me to advance. Yang Qihua and Li Daoxian were the top martial geniuses of the whole South Rudra region after all. Plus, they were not that young anymore, being almost 30 years old. Of course, one could not forget about one person, which was Sikong Sheng. Thinking about it, Sikong Sheng had a high chance of reaching the Sea of Souls realm. In the afternoon, the number of people who had arrived at the Nine Dragon Lake had reached a new high, tens of thousands of people. Most of them were Sea of Souls realm warriors, and master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors had reached an unprecedented 600. Perhaps, this number would not be broken for a long time, because almost all of the master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors had arrived. Look, it's Dantai Mingyu. In the sky, a graceful woman in a red dress flew over on a big bird with 5 colored feathers. Like Murong Qingcheng, the woman's face was covered with a veil. However, this veil was not black, but red. Dantai Mingyu came alone and landed on a huge tree. On top of the cliff, Dugu Ju, who had been meditating with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and looked at Dantai Mingyu. The battling intent in his eyes was not hidden at all. The top 3 martial geniuses are all here. It seems like they have the same cultivation, all at peak level mid-Sea of Souls realm. Judging from the results so far, Yi Chen is slightly more powerful. Dugu Ju and Dantai Mingyu have not done anything in the past 2 years. It is true that Dantai Mingyu has not done anything yet. Dugu Ju had beaten Tai Shichong, one of the top 3 young sword masters, a couple of months ago. He has already made it into the top of the young warriors. I wonder if the top 3 martial geniuses will compete with each other. I don't think so. It is not the right time yet, and it would be pointless. Just like the top 5 young warriors, once they make a move, the whole world will be shocked. With the gathering of the top 3 martial geniuses, the atmosphere in the Nine Dragon Lake was heated up again. Perhaps with the top 5 young warriors in power, the top 3 martial geniuses would not be able to compete with them yet. But as time went on, most of the people thought that the top 3 martial geniuses would definitely challenge the top 5 young warriors and replace their positions. But the condition was that they would have to improve fast enough. Shoo! A beam of sword light shot over from afar, its sharp sword chi shooting into the sky. Before the person had even arrived, the wind and clouds had already started to change, as if it was not a human but a great sword. It was indeed Tai Shichong. It seems like he has successfully reached the late Sea of Souls realm. His power has improved quite a bit. Yi Chen could tell with one glance that Tai Shichong was at the late Sea of Souls realm right now. His Zhen Yuan was as rich as the ocean, and his qi was extremely powerful. Of course, the improvement in his cultivation was still not that big of a deal. What was worth mentioning was that every time a Sea of Souls realm warrior made a breakthrough, there would be a temporary state of being one with the world. According to the warrior's comprehensive ability, they would be able to gain different levels of comprehension. It was because of this state that Yi Chen had managed to train his gold resonant radiant sword art to 130%. After that, he created his gold pattern, which was also influenced by the state, since creating a mid-rank profound sense martial art would require a certain level of comprehension. Duguju, do you dare to challenge me? Once he appeared, Tai Shichong stared at Duguju, who was training with his eyes closed, and yelled. What? Tai Shichong wants to challenge Duguju? What is so strange about that? Tai Shichong's power had increased a lot, so of course, he would want to win back his pride and beat Duguju. I wonder if Duguju would accept the challenge. Everyone's gazes landed on Duguju. Duguju opened his eyes again and looked at Tai Shichong coldly. It seems like you are quite confident that you can beat me. Cut the crap. Do you dare to challenge me? Tai Shichong's eyes were sharp. Standing up slowly, Du Ju said, "Why not? All right, you and I will battle in the lake." Tai Shichong flew toward the center of the lake. Shoo! With a slight movement of his body, Du Ju shot out like a peerless blade. I did not expect the two to battle again. Hai Wuya stared at the center of the lake. Du Ju, take this. Stepping on the surface of the lake, Tai Shichong and Du Ju started to battle. All of a sudden, the blade light and the sword shadows were everywhere, and the lake water was separated by the two from time to time. This battle lasted for a whole 300 attacks. Within those 300 attacks, the two had performed their most powerful attacks one after another. It was not hard to tell that Du Ju did not have the advantage like the first time, and Tai Shichong, who had improved a lot, was not able to suppress Du Ju like he had expected. Despair Blade. Finally, Du Ju was forced to use his ace attack. Within that white rainbow-like blade light, all living beings' shadows appeared on it, and the despair chi spread out in the air. Du Ju, if this is all you have, then this time, you will lose for sure. Tai Shichong's body jumped into the air, stabbing out toward that white rainbow-like blade light. That sword attack gave people the illusion that it was unstoppable, as if it was a sword attack coming down from the sky. A more complete heaven and earth sword. Yi Chen's pupils shrank. Back then, Tai Shichong's usual attack was the heaven and earth sword finger art. Heaven and earth represented the earth, which was the profound of the earth, carrying all living beings. The sky was replaced by the profound of water. However, back then, Tai Shichong's heaven and earth sword was just a rough combination of the profound of the earth and the profound of water. But right now, the two had a deeper connection, and that sword attack was like the judgment of the sky sword. Right now, Tai Shichong's power was no weaker than Lin Tian's. Pooh! Du Ju could not handle that sword attack, and blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. Du Ju lost. Everyone gasped. Dan Tai Mingyu looked very calm, not moving at all. Du Ju, you have lost. After successfully beating Du Ju, a curve appeared on Tai Shichong's face. Wiping away the blood from his mouth, Du Ju lifted up his head and said, "Really? I do not think that I will beat you with only one blade attack." Arrogant. Hearing him, Tai Shichong frowned. He thought that Du Ju was just being stubborn. Whether I am arrogant or not, you will find out soon. Take my real despairing blade attack. As he spoke, Du Ju's aura changed drastically. His whole body sank into a despairing aura, and from that despairing aura came a horrifying power. It was extremely evil, turning Du Ju into an evil spirit, an evil demon wrapped in despair. Ha ha! The sound of the long blade slicing through the air was heard. It was an extremely horrifying sound. It was actually a twisted laughter. Once the person heard the laughter, his face turned pale, and his body started to twitch uncontrollably. It seemed like he had encountered something that made him feel hopeless. Chem. One of the top 5 young warriors, Xiao Chuhe, who had been watching calmly, frowned. There were not many things that could make him frown. Sword Master Lu Xiaoyu also looked like he was thinking about something. Swoosh. Facing this blade attack, Tai Shichong could not react at all and was blown away, falling into a coma. Soon, a couple of people who were close to Tai Shichong helped him to the corner and stared at Du Ju with a pale face. They could not imagine how Du Ju could become this horrifying all of a sudden. Dong. What happened next shocked everyone even more. They saw Du Ju slap his palm on his forehead, making a loud sound. Then, his whole body seemed to have returned to normal, but his face was even paler. It seemed like he had used up a lot of mental energy. Strange. His whole body has sunk into the despairing aura, as if he is using the despairing aura to increase his power. Yi Chen studied Du Ju, who was still meditating with his eyes closed. I did not expect Du Ju to be this horrifying. It seems like we have underestimated him. Yeah. Even if Tai Shichong is not as powerful as Lin Tian, he is not that far off. But, he still could not take one blade attack from Du Ju. But, Du Ju does not look that good either. He must have used a power that he could not control. Everyone was a bit surprised by this result. This Du Ju is so powerful. I would like to see it for myself. But, He is not in his best condition right now. I am afraid that he will not be able to take one attack from me. Inside a pavilion next to the lake, an evil-looking young man with a face as white as powder waved his fan and said lightly, "Lan Xiecheng, you had the upper hand in the battle with Lin Tian back then. Do you want to battle with him again?" Someone standing right next to him said. The young man who was called Lan Xiecheng shook his head. Before that, I might have been interested in battling with him. But, unfortunately, he had lost to a young brat. Challenging him is not what I want. Anyway, I will go challenge Yi Chen and see what kind of power he has to beat Lin Tian. As he spoke, the evil-looking young man stood up and looked at where Yi Chen was, yelling, "Yi Chen, do you dare to take 10 attacks from me?" Hey! It is the evil child Lan Xiecheng. He wants to challenge Yi Chen. Before one wave had subsided, another wave arose. Everyone's attention was drawn over. Lan Xiecheng. Du Guju opened his eyes tiredly. 2 years ago, he had the upper hand in the battle with Lin Tian. Today, he is going to challenge Yi Chen, who had beaten Lin Tian before. This is going to be interesting. Yeah. Everyone says that Yi Chen is very powerful, but I do not even know what is so powerful about him. Is it because Lin Tian has fallen, or is it because Yi Chen is really powerful? Perhaps we will find out now. Chapter 611. I'm afraid this battle will be the most influential one in the past 20 years. Yang Fengfeng and Yi Chen and Hai Wuya were from the same sect, so they naturally brought the disciples of the mysterious martial school to this small mountain. Hai Wuya nodded. 5 years ago, the battle between Sword Master Lu Xiaoyu and Xiao Chuhe was not this popular. But it is also because of that battle that we are able to have such a grand occasion today. Lu Xiaoyu was the leader of the top 3 young swordmasters, and also one of the top 5 young warriors. Although there were a lot of people watching the battle between him and Xiao Chuhe, it was not as big as today. But, after Xiao Chuhe had lost to Lu Xiaoyu, he had trained hard for 3 years, and his power had reached an unfathomable level. He had even beaten Shen Qianlang, one of the top 3 Blade Master level warriors, which had made the older generation of Master level warriors realize that the top 5 young warriors were not as simple as they had thought. If they did not take it seriously, then they might be beaten by the top 5 young warriors one by one in the future. Therefore, the battle between Xie Hozuan and Bai Wuxue had caused such a huge commotion. Looking at the Sea of Souls realm warriors that could be seen everywhere, Yi Chen could not help but shake his head. Among the older generation warriors, not to mention Master level Sea of Souls realm warriors, even spirit warriors were rare. In fact, even normal Sea of Souls realm warriors were extremely rare in the whole South Rudra region. The top 6 rank 6 martial institutions would each have 7 to 8 Sea of Souls realm warriors, which would be around 50 in total. The Murong family had more Sea of Souls realm warriors, around 30 of them. Adding some of the Sea of Souls realm warriors who did not belong to any martial institutions, there would be around 1 to 200 of them. Of course, there might be some Sea of Souls realm warriors who stayed outside all the time and did not come back to the South Rudra region. But overall, the overall power of the South Rudra region was indeed extremely weak. Murong Qingcheng was obviously thinking the same thing as Yi Chen. She frowned slightly, a helpless look in her eyes. South Rudra region, Yang Qihua and Li Daoxian have both reached the Sea of Souls realm. Murong Qingcheng said, "I think it is about time for them to make it." Yang Qihua and Li Daoxian were the top martial geniuses of the South Rudra region after all. Plus, they were not that young anymore, being close to 30 years old. Of course, one could not forget about one person, which was Sikong Sheng. Thinking about it, the possibility of Sikong Sheng reaching the Sea of Souls realm was quite high. In the afternoon, the number of people arriving at the Nine-Dragon Lake reached a new high. There were tens of thousands of people, most of whom were Sea of Souls realm warriors. There were more than 600 Master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors. Perhaps, this number would not break through for a long time, because almost all of the Master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors had arrived. Look, it is Dantai Mingyu. In the sky, a beautiful woman in a red dress flew over while riding on a huge bird with 5 colored feathers. She was just like Murong Qingcheng, with a light veil covering her face. However, it was not black, but red. Dan Tai Mingyu came alone and landed on a towering tree. On top of the cliff, Du Gujue, who had been meditating with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and looked at Dan Tai Mingyu. The battling intent in his eyes was not hidden at all. The top 3 martial geniuses are all here. It seems like their cultivation is the same, all at peak level mid-sea of Soul's realm. Judging from the results so far, Yi Chen is slightly more powerful. Du Gujue and Dan Tai Mingyu have not made any moves in the past 2 years. It is true that Dan Tai Mingyu has not made any moves, but Du Gujue had beaten Tai Shichong, one of the top young warriors, a couple of months ago. He has already reached the top of the young warriors. I wonder if the top 3 martial geniuses will compete with each other. I don't think so. It is not the right time yet, and it would be pointless. Just like the top 5 young warriors, once they make their moves, the whole world will be shocked. The gathering of the top 3 martial geniuses had made the atmosphere in the Nine Dragon Lake a lot more intense. Perhaps right now, with the top 5 young warriors in power, the top 3 martial geniuses would not be able to compete with them yet. But as time went on, most of the people thought that the top 3 martial geniuses would definitely challenge the top 5 young warriors and replace their positions. However, the condition was that they would have to improve fast enough. Shoo! A beam of sword light shot over from afar, its sword chi shooting into the sky. Before the person had even arrived, the wind and clouds had already started to change, as if it was not a human but a great sword. It was indeed Tai Shichong. It seems like he has successfully reached the late sea of Soul's realm. His power has improved quite a bit. Yi Chen could tell with a glance that Tai Shichong was at the late sea of Soul's realm right now. His Zhen Yuan was as rich as the ocean, and his qi was extremely powerful. Of course, the improvement in his cultivation was not that big of a deal. What was worth mentioning was that every time a Sea of Soul's realm warrior made a breakthrough, there would be a temporary state of being one with the world. It was because of this state that Yi Chen had managed to train his gold resonant radiant sword art to 130%. After that, he had created his gold pattern, which was also influenced by the state of being one with the world. After all, creating a mid-rank profound sense martial art would require a certain level of comprehension. Du Gujue, do you dare to battle? Once he appeared, Tai Shichong stared at Du Gujue, who was sitting in meditation with his eyes closed, and yelled. What? Tai Shichong wants to challenge Du Gujue? What is so strange about that? Tai Shichong's power had increased a lot, so of course, he would want to win back his dignity and beat Du Gujue. I wonder if he would accept the challenge or not. Everyone's gaze landed on Du Gujue. Du Gujue opened his eyes again and looked at Tai Shichong coldly. It seems like you are quite confident that you can beat me. Cut the bullshit. Do you dare to battle? Tai Shichong's eyes were sharp. Slowly standing up, Du Gujue said, why not? All right, you and I will battle in the lake. Tai Shichong flew toward the center of the lake. Shoo! His body flashed once, and Du Gujue shot out like a deadly blade. I did not expect the two to battle again. Hai Wuya stared at the center of the lake. Du Gujue, take this. Stepping on the lake water, Tai Shichong and Du Gujue started to battle. All of a sudden, the blade light and the sword shadow spread out everywhere, and the lake water was split apart by the two. This battle lasted for a whole 300 attacks. Within those 300 attacks, the two had performed their most powerful attacks one after another. It was not hard to tell that Du Gujue did not have the upper hand like the first time, and Tai Shichong, whose power had increased drastically, was not able to suppress Du Gujue like he had expected. Despair Blade. Finally, Du Gujue was forced to use his ace attack. Within that white rainbow-like blade light, the images of all living beings appeared on it, and the despair chi spread out everywhere. Du Gujue, if you only have this one attack, then you will lose for sure this time. Tai Shichong's body jumped into the air as he stabbed out a sword attack toward that white rainbow-like blade light. That sword attack gave people the illusion that it was unstoppable, as if it was a sword attack coming down from the sky. A more complete natural sword. Yi Chen's pupils shrank. That day, Tai Shichong's usual attack was a natural sword finger art. Heaven and earth represented the earth, which was also the profound of earth, carrying everything. Sky was replaced by the profound of water. However, back then, Tai Shichong's natural sword was just a rough combination of the profound of earth and water. But right now, the two seemed to have reached a deeper level. That sword attack seemed to be the judgment of the sky sword. Right now, Tai Shichong's power was no weaker than Lin Tian's. Pooh! Du Gujue could not handle that sword attack, and blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. Du Gujue lost. Everyone gasped. Dan Tai Mingyu looked calm, not moving at all. Du Gujue, you have lost. After successfully beating Du Gujue, a smile appeared on Tai Shichong's face. Wiping the blood off his mouth, Du Gujue lifted up his eyes and said, "Oh yeah? I don't think I will beat you with one blade attack." Arrogant. Hearing him, Tai Shichong frowned. He thought that Du Gujue was just being stubborn. Whether I am arrogant or not, you will know soon enough. Take my true despairing blade attack. As he spoke, Du Gujue's aura changed drastically. His whole body sank into a despairing aura, and from that despairing aura, a horrifying power was born. This power was extremely evil, turning Du Gujue into an evil spirit wrapped in despair. Ha ha! The sound of the long blade slicing through the air was heard. It was an extremely horrifying sound. It was actually a twisted laughter. Once the person heard it, his face turned pale, and his body started to twitch uncontrollably. It seemed like he had encountered something that made him feel hopeless. Chem. One of the top 5 young warriors, Xiao Chuhe, who had been watching the whole time, frowned. There were not many things that could make him frown. The sword master Lu Xiaoyu also seemed to be thinking about something. Swoosh. Facing this blade attack, Tai Shichong could not react at all and was blown away, falling into a coma. Soon, a couple of people who were close to Tai Shichong helped him to the corner and stared at Du Gujue with pale faces. They could not imagine how Du Gujue had become this horrifying all of a sudden. Dong. What happened next shocked everyone even more. They saw Du Gujue slap on his forehead, making a loud sound. Then, his whole body seemed to return to normal. However, his face was even paler, as if he had used up a lot of mental energy. Strange. His whole body has fallen into a despairing aura, as if he is trying to get more power out of it. Yi Chen studied Du Gujue, who was still meditating with his eyes closed. I did not expect Du Gujue to be this powerful. It seems like we have underestimated him. Yeah. Even if Tai Shichong's power is not as powerful as Lin Tian's, it should not be too far off. But, he still could not take one blade attack from Du Gujue. But, Du Gujue does not look that good either. He must have used some power that he could not control. Everyone was a bit surprised by this result. This Du Gujue is so powerful. I would like to see him for myself. But, he is not in his best condition right now. I am afraid he would not be able to take one attack from me. In a pavilion next to the lake, an evil-looking young man with a face as white as powder waved his fan and said lightly, "Lan Xieching, you had the upper hand in the battle with Lin Tian back then. Why don't you spar with him again?" Someone beside him said. The young man called Lan Xieching shook his head. Before that, I might have been interested in fighting with him once. Unfortunately, he lost, and to a brat who has just come out of nowhere. Challenging him is not what I want. Fine, I will go challenge Yi Chen. Let's see what he has to beat Lin Tian. As he spoke, the evil-looking young man stood up and looked in Yi Chen's direction, yelling, "Yi Chen, do you dare to take 10 attacks from me?" Hey! It is Lan Xieching. He wants to challenge Yi Chen. Before one wave had subsided, another wave arose. Everyone's attention was drawn over. Lan Xieching. Du Gujue opened his eyes tiredly. 2 years ago, he had the upper hand in the battle with Lin Tian. Today, he wants to challenge Yi Chen, who had beaten Lin Tian. This is going to be interesting. Yeah. Everyone says that Yi Chen is powerful, but I don't even know how powerful he is. Is it because Lin Tian has fallen, or is it because Yi Chen is really powerful? Perhaps we will find out now. Chapter 6:12. The sky soon darkened, and the stars shone brightly in the night sky. The Nine-Dragon Lake was not as busy as during the day, but it was not quiet either. 4 Sea of Souls realm warriors. Not sleeping for a couple of days was as simple as eating and drinking. It would not affect their mental state at all. Of course, at night, no one would make a fuss and ruin the peaceful atmosphere. They were all chatting with people they could talk to. On top of a small hill, a well-designed wooden house stood there. There were a lot of cracks that could not be seen with naked eyes, seeming like it could be dismantled at any time. It was about the size of a normal family's living room, more than enough to hold dozens of people. Inside the house, Yi Chen and the rest were drinking tea and chatting. Brother Yi, this puppet house of yours is indeed a rare item. It should still be able to activate the protective layer, right? Hai Wuya studied the interior of the house and could not help but be amazed by the skills of the puppet school. Yang Fengfeng's flying ship, Yi Chen's flying puppet, and the puppet house were all the works of the school. It was not hard to imagine how prosperous the school must have been back in the day. Yi Chen chuckled, just a small toy. This puppet house was obtained by him and the second disciple of the floating snow martial school when they entered the ruins of the puppet school. It would not be good for battling or defending, but it was very convenient. Sister Murong Qingcheng, the qi on your body seems to be different from normal demi-demons. Yang Fengfeng sipped on the tea and said to Murong Qingcheng. She called Yi Chen brother disciple, so naturally, she would call Murong Qingcheng sister disciple as well. Murong Qingcheng said, my path is different from normal demi-demons. I train demon power. No wonder. Yang Fengfeng was not too surprised. Murong Qingcheng had the perfect demi-demon bloodline, so she had 2 choices. One was to train Jin Yuan, and the other was demon power. Normal demi-demons could only train Jin Yuan, and could not train the more powerful demon power. But, demon power was not good either, since it was very rare on this true spirit continent. Even the pellets that were suitable for human warriors could not be used, and it would be very hard for them to make a breakthrough. She should have had some kind of special experience to be able to train to mid-sea of Soul's realm. It was getting deeper into the night, but no one wanted to sleep. They chatted while waiting for the day to come. A red sun slowly rose, and the 9 Dragons Lake was dyed golden red, sparkling under the light. The spectators, who hadn't slept the whole night, were stirred up spontaneously and looked forward to the match. The battle between Xia Hozuan and Bai Wuxue is today, but I do not know what time it is. It is so hard to wait. There's no rush. We've already waited for a few days. Why would we care about a few more days? Xia Hozuan's door is closer to the 9-Dragon Mountain, so it should be him who got there first. Someone guessed. Outside the wooden house, Yi Chen put away the puppet house and stood side by side with Murong Qingcheng at the edge of the mountain peak, bathing in the golden red sunlight of the morning sun. He's here. Murong Qingcheng's eyesight was very good, and it seemed that only Yang Fengfeng, who was a blue phoenix, could compete with her. It's Bai Wuxue. Yi Chen looked over and saw a white figure drifting over from the horizon. Shoo. Bai Wuxue's speed was extremely fast, and it only took him a couple of breaths to arrive at the 9-Dragon Mountain. He landed on one of the steep peaks. He was wearing white robes that were embroidered with plums, orchids, bamboo, and chrysanthemums. He looked very handsome, and there was no trace of impatience on his face. Bai Wuxue, I did not expect you to be here before Xia Hozuan. Xiao Chuhe, who was also one of the top 5 young warriors, opened his eyes and said. Bai Wuxue said lightly, I always like to be one step ahead of my opponents. Sorry to keep you guys waiting. I hope that your battle with Xia Hozuan will give me some inspiration. As he said the second sentence, Xiao Chuhe closed his eyes again, standing there with his arms crossed. Bai Wuxue looked away from Xiao Chuhe and exchanged a look with the sword master, Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Xiaoyu looked very calm and did not say anything. Right now, Bai Wuxue is here, and Xia Hozuan will be here as well. But, isn't there still one more of the top 5 young warriors? Why is he not here yet? The top young warriors present were Bai Wuxue, Lu Xiaoyu, Xiao Chuhe, and Xia Hozuan. There were 4 of them in total, so there was still one more to go. Speaking of which, I do not think I have seen that one before. I heard that it is a girl. How could we have seen her before? The last top young warrior had been recognized by all 4 of them. Otherwise, why would the 4 of them recognize her? Yeah, To be able to make the four of them recognize her, she must have the same power as them. Yi Chen asked Yang Fengfeng, "Sister Yang, do you know about the fifth top young warrior?" Yang Fengfeng shook her head. "I have seen her once, but I do not know anything about her background. I only know that people call her the godly shark princess. If I have guessed it right, she should be a beast as well." Godly shark princess? Yi Chen shook his head, thinking that it was indeed mysterious. After waiting for a while, a golden figure finally appeared in the southwest direction. Before the person had even arrived, that aggressive aura had already spread out. Xia Hozuan. Xia Hozuan is here. Finally. This aura. It is so powerful that people would not even have the thought of fighting back. That aggressive aura. Xia Hozuan is indeed Xia Hozuan. The heated atmosphere seemed to be contagious as it covered the entire lake within a second. Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng exchanged a look. They felt like they were looking at another Chu Zhongtian. But of course, Xia Hozuan's aura was not something that Chu Zhongtian could compare with, since one was one of the top 5 young warriors while the other was only famous in the southern region. "Bai Wuxue, you are still the same." Xia Hozuan laughed out loud. A gold light flashed once as he stood on top of the water in the middle of the lake. His body was filled with an aura of dominance. The lake water started to ripple with him as the center, spreading out in all directions as if he was the center of the whole world. Xia Hozuan's body was extremely huge, with broad shoulders and long legs. He was wearing a bright gold robe with a gold crown on his head. His eyebrows were very long, reaching all the way to his temples. His eyes were like a pair of cold stars in the night sky, shining brightly. "I wonder how Chu Zhongtian would feel after coming here." Murong Qingcheng could not help but ask. Yi Chen said, "Do not underestimate Chu Zhongtian. Regardless, he has the evil spirit body. Once his cultivation catches up, no one would dare to say that they would be able to win against him." Yi Chen would never underestimate Chu Zhongtian. Judging solely on physical talent, he had not seen anyone who could surpass him. There was not even anyone who could match him. As for whether or not he would meet someone like that in the future, it would still be unknown. On top of the steep mountain, Bai Wuxue said, "You are still the same. Cut the bullshit. Let's have 1,000 attacks first." Xia Hozuan did not wait for Bai Wuxue to get down as he lifted up his right index finger and pointed out. Boom. The mountain under Bai Wuxue's feet suddenly exploded like a goddess scattering flowers. Then, countless rocks of various sizes shot out with Bai Wuxue as the center. It was like this finger had created a huge gravitational field around Bai Wuxue. Break. Bai Wuxue waved his right hand, and all of the rocks in front of him turned into dust. Then, he jumped out and arrived in front of Xia Hozuan, throwing out a palm attack. Boom. That palm attack was like the palm of a giant spirit, and a massive palm print appeared on the surface of the lake. The scariest thing was that the lake seemed to have been solidified. The palm print was imprinted on the surface, and the patterns could be seen clearly. "Point at the sky." Xia Hozuan laughed as he drew a circle around his body with his index finger. The space pattern started to vibrate in a regular pattern, forming a twisted defensive layer. The defensive layer had taken on Bai Wuxue's palm attack and shattered instantly. However, it did not hurt Xia Hozuan at all. Shu King Finger. Using the defensive layer to block out Bai Wuxue's palm attack, Xia Hozuan attacked back aggressively. He pointed out his finger, and a king warrior shadow appeared behind him, pointing out toward Bai Wuxue as well. Chi Wave 100 Sky. Bai Wuxue suddenly landed on the lake surface, stepping on the solidified lake water. His left hand was placed in front of his chest while his right hand was straightened in the air. His 5 fingers opened slightly, welcoming Xia Hozuan's finger power. Boom. 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 The 9-dragon lake was dozens of miles wide. As the two clashed head-on, the solidified lake surface started to move up and down. In the end, thousands of water columns exploded out, each of which was dozens of meters thick and thousands of meters tall. The water level of the lake had dropped by 200 meters. Too heaven-defying. Every move is unstoppable. Top 5 young warriors. They are indeed a bunch of monsters. Everyone held their breaths as their faces turned red. Powerful. So powerful. So powerful. Hai Wuya said it 3 times in a row. He could guarantee that, not to mention battling with them, he would not even be able to handle the aftershock of their attacks. This was the power of the top 5 young warriors. Each of them were the top warriors among the young warriors, and the others could only look up to them. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen said lightly, "Right now, they are still testing each other. They are all using the profound sense martial arts from before. Of course, it would be best if the profound sense martial arts were created by oneself, because if it was created by oneself, one would be able to feel more, and would be able to bring out its power to its extreme. I really would not know if I did not see it. Now that I have seen it, I am shocked." As one of the top 3 Blade Art Master level warriors, Lin Chaonan was indeed shocked. Although his power was slightly higher than Shen Qianlang, and he had improved a lot in the past 2 years, he still did not have the confidence to fight against either Bai Wuxue or Xie Houzuan. Xie Baiting nodded. Just their power right now is not something to be underestimated. Wait until they use all of their power. I am afraid that even I will have to pay attention to them. Being able to make Xie Baiting say that he would pay attention to them would be rare. It had been decades since Xie Baiting had been the number 1 Blade Art Master level warrior in the world, and no one had ever been able to take him down. Top 5 young warriors. Dugu Ju sat on the rock with his legs crossed, his eyes shining brightly. He did not look like he was injured at all, but it was not hard to tell how excited he was. In the middle of the lake, Bai Wuxue and Xie Houzuan had already exchanged hundreds of attacks. Neither of them could do anything to the other, because each of their attacks had reached the pinnacle of speed, power, technique, and spirit light flash. Even normal attacks could be turned into a deadly attack in their hands, catching their enemies off guard. 800 attacks. 900 attacks. 1,000 attacks. Indeed, if I do not risk my life, I will not be able to win against you. A gold mist rose up from Xie Houzuan's body, which was caused by his intense qi and blood circulation. The space outside of Bai Wuxue's body started to blur as he said lightly, "Let's do our best." Chapter 613. If there was no winner, then this battle would be meaningless for them. Since they had chosen to battle, then they would have to have a winner. They are going all out now. Hearing the conversation between the two, everyone watching could not help but feel their hearts skip a beat. They wondered how horrifying it would be once the two used all of their power. Dong. The lake water caved in as Bai Wuxue and Xie Houzuan battled again. Compared to before, this time, the two had pushed their power to its limit, not caring about their Jin Yuan consumption anymore. The two had made it clear that they would not use pellets to replenish their Jin Yuan during the battle. Bai Wuxue, take my shooting star finger. Xie Houzuan flew into the air as both of his fingers flicked in the air. Countless massive shooting star finger power shot out like a meteor shower. Grafting. Bai Wuxue did not back out at all as he pushed his Jin Yuan to its limit. Eventually, a massive ancient tree appeared outside of his body. It was crystal green, looking like it was made out of diamonds. Countless branches reached out like an umbrella. Pap, pap, pap. Xie Houzuan's shooting star finger power had just touched the Zhen Yuan ancient tree when it was sucked over, turning into the fruits on the tree. All of a sudden, the tree was full of fruits. Gasp. The sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air could be heard everywhere. This was the first time that the crowd had seen someone else's attack turn into his own profound martial skill. At this moment, Bai Wuxue was even more unfathomable in their eyes. Some of the older generation grandmasters who thought highly of themselves could not help but change their expressions. Ting. The great blades and swords on Lu Xiaoyu and Xiao Chuhe's waists started to vibrate slightly, making a crisp sound. It was because they could not control their own battling intent, causing the great blades and swords to sense it, wanting to get out of their scabbards and attack Bai Wuxue and Xie Houzuan. Bai Wuxue, you are indeed special. Xiao Chuhe's eyes were bright like blades as he stared at Bai Wuxue in the middle of the lake. Although Xie Houzuan was powerful, judging from the situation, he was obviously not as powerful as Bai Wuxue. You are qualified to be my next opponent. Lu Xiaoyu let out a breath and said lightly. On top of the hill, Yi Chen and the rest looked extra serious and shocked. Amazing. He can actually use the wood profound to such a level. Yi Chen was also proficient in the wood profound. However, it was clear that Bai Wuxue had left him far behind in this aspect. Seeing that his shooting star finger art had become the fruit on the ancient tree, Xie Hozun could not help but be a bit absent-minded. He had to admit that Bai Wuxue's power was even more powerful than he had expected. If he wanted to win, he might have to pay a huge price. Great Meteor Finger. His palm, which was covered in a jade-green light at some point in time, stretched out. Then, he clenched his fist in the air. In the next instant, a huge jade-green hand appeared out of nowhere in the dark environment. It grabbed the comet finger energy and squeezed. Boom. This time, the explosion was not as loud as before. The comet finger power and the huge green hand had been destroyed into nothingness at the same time, exploding into a pile of energy swirls. As you wish. Xie Hozun also knew that with only the 2 attacks, he would not be able to do anything to Bai Wuxue. Among the top 5 young warriors, no one was truly number 1. But without a doubt, Bai Wuxue was the one who had hidden the most, and the one who was the most unpredictable. Is it Xie Hozun's ace attack or the void-shattering finger attack? Yi Chen's breathing sped up a little. His biggest goal this time was to witness Xie Hozun's void-shattering finger attack. Only by observing it would he be able to learn the space profound faster and bring out the full power of the void-shattering finger attack. Turning void into reality. 1 finger attack. Xie Hozun lifted up his right hand and reached out his index finger. In the next second, all of the space power that was everywhere in the world rushed over and gathered around his body. He seemed to be unable to control all of that space power, so a lot of it spread out in all directions like a pattern in the surreal space. Such a rich space power. Yi Chen closed his eyes and immersed himself in the observation of the space power. He felt like a fish swimming in the space power, continuously absorbing the nutrients and strengthening his body. As he continued to learn the space profound, Yang Fengfeng, Murong Qingcheng, and the rest had also noticed the change in Yi Chen. Chapter 614. Bai Wuxue looked a bit more serious. The space profound was one of the most powerful profounds, just below the time profound. When 2 profounds of the same level collided, the winner would definitely be the space profound. There was no doubt about it at all. In order to compete with the space profound, one would have to have the same level of profound. If one did not have the same level of profound, then one would have to be way more powerful in terms of movement. Lose. Xie Hozun's eyes shone brightly as he pointed out his finger at Bai Wuxue, who was 1,000 meters away. As he pointed out his finger, that rich space power was added to his finger power, shooting out through the air. Eventually, it formed into a huge golden finger that looked like a tower, pressing toward Bai Wuxue. Can't dodge it. Bai Wuxue had thought about dodging, but the space power was the most mysterious one. It had the horrifying effect of shortening the distance. Even though it looked like 1,000 meters, it could actually be shortened by 2 times, or even 3 times. Since I can't dodge it, then I guess I won't. Shield of Life. Endless Defense. Bai Wuxue had already started to form the spell when Chu Zhongtian performed his void-shattering finger attack. After making up his mind, he pushed his spell speed to its limit. His hand shadow could no longer be seen anymore, only a blurry green light ball. Behind his back, countless thick Zhenyuan vines reached out. Judging from their shape, they looked very ancient, having a similar aura to the Zhenyuan ancient tree. Shoo, 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 shoo. Under the contrast of countless Zhenyuan vines, Bai Wuxue looked like a super huge spider. An air-piercing sound was heard as all of those Zhenyuan vines reached out in front of Bai Wuxue, forming a green shield that looked like it was made out of vines. It stood firmly in front of him, connecting with the rest of the vines. In the next second, the golden finger landed on the green shield, bringing up a loud sound. The shield has been broken through. Everyone could see that there was a huge hole in the green shield, and it looked like it was about to go through. No. The shield is repairing at an insane speed. The pupils of the people with sharp eyes shrunk as they saw something that shocked them. The golden finger was invincible, and it could devour the energy on the shield to strengthen itself. However, the green shield did not collapse with a single strike. The countless green vines were like its nutrient conduits, providing it with sufficient nutrients. Even if the golden finger devoured a portion of the green vines, it would not be a big deal. It is the life power. I did not expect Bai Wuxue to have learned the profound of life. Someone exclaimed. It was a chain that connected the past, the present, and the future. Below it was the space profound. To a certain extent, the space profound was not inferior to the time profound. Below the space profound, there were many more powerful profounds, such as the yin profound, the yang profound, the life profound, and the death profound. Once the yin profound and the yang profound were combined, the life profound and the death profound would become a profound that was equal to the space profound. However, because these two opposing profounds needed to be combined, it was not as good as the space profound. Therefore, it was not as famous as the space profound. Although the profound of life was not as powerful as the profound of space, Bai Wuxue's understanding of it had obviously surpassed Xie Hozhuan's understanding of the profound of space. That endless life power poured into the green shield, cancelling out the attack of the golden finger. He has actually learned the profound of life. Xie Hozhuan was shocked, so he threw out another void-shattering finger attack at Bai Wuxue, wanting to beat him with one attack. Bai Wuxue reached out both of his hands, the green shield seeming to be indestructible. After the activation of the profound of life, the endless life power was generated, cancelling out the golden finger attack once again. Xie Hozhuan's void-shattering finger has been blocked out. Bai Wuxue is indeed powerful. I wonder if Xie Hozhuan will still use his void-shattering finger attack. I don't think so. The more powerful the profound, the more Zhen Yuan it will need. If he keeps this up, then Xie Hozhuan's Zhen Yuan will be drained even faster than Bai Wuxue's. You are right. Hearing everyone's discussion, Xie Baiting thought to himself, his profound of life should have been learned from the profound of wood. Among the 5 elements, the profound of wood and the profound of water both contain the profound of life, and the profound of earth contains a bit of it as well. Training the profound of wood to the highest level would indeed allow one to learn the profound of life. But the condition would be that the warrior's own comprehensive ability would be very high. All the power Upanishads in this world were connected, including time and space. Because everything was derived from the primal chaos. Bai Wuxue, you are indeed very powerful, so powerful that even I am impressed. But, if you think that I only have this much power, then you are very wrong. Indeed, the void-shattering finger attack is my most powerful profound sense martial art, but it might not be the one that I am best at. My best profound sense martial art would be the star nuclear finger that I have created myself. Take this. Xie Hozhuan did not perform his void-shattering finger attack anymore. His body flashed once as he approached Bai Wuxue at an extreme speed. That green shield could only block in front of him, and not in all directions. Shoo! Xie Hozhuan arrived at Bai Wuxue's side and threw out a finger attack. Pop! Where Bai Wuxue was standing, all of the air, yuan qi, and even the lake water were all pulled toward Xie Hozhuan, eventually being compressed into a light ball. Bai Wuxue, who was in the same space, could not help but be pulled over as well. That invisible pressure was pressing on him. This is the star nuclear gravity. Bai Wuxue frowned. Indeed. This is the martial art that I have learned from the Starlight Profound. Judging on attacking power, it is not as powerful as the void-shattering finger attack. But, the things that the void-shattering finger attack cannot do, it can do. For example, beating you. Xie Hozhuan was very confident, but it was not something that he was born with, it was something that came from his power. Indeed, this attack is very powerful. Bai Wuxue let go of his shield of life and pushed his Zhen Yuan, trying his best to cancel out the star nuclear gravity that Xie Hozhuan had released. He did not doubt that once the star nuclear gravity landed on his body, it would shatter all of his internal organs and wound him severely. Therefore, it was very important to control the distance. Qi wave 100 sky. Bai Wuxue threw out a palm attack toward Xie Hozhuan. Qi poured out, But out of his expectation, he could not perform the martial art that he had trained in the past. Once he let out his Jin Yuan, it would be dragged out, and he would not be able to gather more Jin Yuan. Haha. My star nuclear finger attack is not only used on your body. Your Jin Yuan is affected by the star nuclear gravity as well. If my attack is not good, then I am afraid that my defense will not work either. Even my protective Jin Yuan is starting to move. Bai Wuxue could sense that his protective Jin Yuan was twisting and looking like it was about to shatter. Xia Hozuan's star nuclear finger attack was way more powerful than he had expected. Since I cannot block out the star nuclear gravity, then I might as well do the opposite. This star nuclear gravity would not be able to break the balance, and it would have its own limit. Facing the danger, Bai Wuxue still did not lose his cool. He took a deep breath, and the Zhen Yuan in his dantian exploded like a flood. It rushed out through his meridians and eventually shot out of his body. That green Zhen Yuan was like a burning flame, expanding crazily. What? Xia Hozuan did not really understand what Bai Wuxue was doing. Lin Chaonan, one of the top 3 blade artists, did not understand either. He asked Xie Beiting, "Brother Xie, what do you think Bai Wuxue is planning?" Xie Beiting saw Bai Wuxue's Jin Yuan being absorbed by Xia Hozuan's star nuclear finger attack and compressed into a green light ball. As the light ball got bigger and bigger, Xia Hozuan found it harder and harder to control it. Xie Beiting sighed, such a powerful battling experience. Even I could not think of a way to break out of it. I did not expect him to have figured it out. He is doing the opposite, burning his own Jin Yuan to cancel out Xia Hozuan's star nuclear finger attack, because the star nuclear gravity has its own limit. Once it goes beyond that limit, the star nuclear finger attack would lose its effect. After Xie Beiting's reminder, Lin Chaonan had understood it immediately. He could not help but be shocked. Obviously, Xia Hozuan had also understood what Bai Wuxue was doing. He said with a bad look on his face, "Do you think this will work? Before, you had performed the flower replace tree attack. Now, you should taste the feast that I have prepared for you." The star nuclear finger attack was not an active attack, but of course, it was not a passive attack either. It was something that was in between. Explode. Xia Hozuan was acting very strangely. His body flashed once before backing out at an extreme speed, getting away from where Bai Wuxue was. Shield of life. Bai Wuxue's expression changed as he hurried to reach out his right hand. Dozens of Jin Yuan vines grew out of his arm, forming a small green shield. In the next second, the Jin Yuan ball that had been compressed into a bright green light ball exploded. It was Bai Wuxue's Jin Yuan, which was basically giving Bai Wuxue a taste of his own medicine. Boom! The green shield was shattered, and Bai Wuxue was blown backward. Midway, he suddenly sunk down, both of his hands pressing on the surface of the Nine-Dragon Lake. Spear of life. Swoosh! At the bottom of the lake, countless Jin Yuan vines formed into a long spear that broke through the water. It was right below Xia Hozuan, landing right on his protective Jin Yuan layer. Pooh! His protective Jin Yuan was shattered, and Xia Hozuan puked out a huge amount of blood. He had been badly wounded. Yuck! After throwing out that attack, Bai Wuxue himself had been wounded quite badly as well. Sticky blood poured out of his mouth, dyeing the lake water under his feet red. Bai Wuxue won? Everyone was not too sure, so they looked at each other. On top of the hill, Yang Fengfeng and Hai Wuya did not know who had won either. On the surface, it seemed like Bai Wuxue had wounded Xia Hozuan with one attack, so he had won. But, Bai Wuxue himself had been wounded badly as well. If Xia Hozuan still had the power to fight, then it would be a tie. Woo! Right then, an intense space vibration appeared around Yi Chen, who was right next to Murong Qingcheng. It was getting more and more powerful, forcing Murong Qingcheng to move away from Yi Chen for a while. Void-shattering finger, 60%. 70%. In a short time, Yi Chen had trained his space profound to an extremely high level. It was mainly because he had been stuck at 50% of his void-shattering finger before, and could not make a breakthrough. Actually, he had accumulated a lot, and as long as he broke through the bottleneck, he would be able to keep improving his space profound. It was like a scholar who had been troubled by a difficult problem. Once he solved it, a lot of problems would be solved, and he would be able to reach a higher level in a short time. Chapter 6:15. Indeed, the Space Power Upanishad is 10 times more complicated than I had imagined. If the void-shattering finger art could only simulate the power of space at 50%, then after 50%, it would be able to absorb the power of space, which was everywhere. However, Yi Chen could feel that even with 70% of the void-shattering finger art, it would still only be able to make use of the space profound. In the end, it would only be using the power of space, and would never be able to enter the palace of space. It was just like having a house. You could only use the materials of the house, but it did not mean that you understood the structure of the house. There would be a huge gap between the two, which was the difference between a layman and an expert. Even though he had comprehended the void-shattering finger to 70%, he was still an amateur. It was not hard to imagine how powerful and difficult it was to comprehend the profound of space. Xia Hozuan's void-shattering finger should be around 80%, definitely not more than 90%. Right now, I am still not able to compete with him. But of course, there is still a gap. But for now, the power of my gold pattern is not weaker than the 70% void-shattering finger. Combined with the destruction sword intent, it is even more powerful than the 80% void-shattering finger. When the void-shattering finger was trained to 50%, the gold resonant radiance at 130% had already surpassed the void-shattering finger. Then, the gold resonant radiance had reached 130%, and its power had increased drastically. Even if it could not reach 60%, it would not be much weaker than the void-shattering finger. Once Yi Chen had figured out his new sword movement, the gold pattern, it had become his most powerful ace attack. In terms of power, the gold pattern was twice as powerful as his 130% gold resonant radiance sword art. Combined with the destruction sword intent, the 80% power of his void-shattering finger art would not be exaggerating at all. Therefore, under the same cultivation level, Yi Chen's most powerful attacking power would not be any weaker than Xia Hozuan's. Of course, the time that was given to Yi Chen was still a bit short. As long as Yi Chen perfected his gold pattern, it would not be impossible for him to compete with the top 5 young warriors with his peak level mid-seas of Soul's Realm cultivation. Therefore, at the end of the day, time was still too short. It was the same for Du Guju. Opening his eyes, Yi Chen withdrew from the state of comprehension. Yi Chen, have you comprehended it? Murong Qingcheng knew that Yi Chen was cultivating the void-shattering finger. Yi Chen nodded. This trip wasn't in vain. Hee, congratulations. Actually, Yang Fengfeng and Hai Wuya had also vaguely known that the finger art Yi Chen had used had something to do with Xia Hozuan's void-shattering finger art. They were just not sure about it, and did not want to point it out. Looking at Zhoulong Lake, Yi Chen asked, "Who won?" Murong Qingcheng shook her head and said, "I am not sure. Bai Wuxue and Xia Hozuan were both wounded quite badly, but Bai Wuxue had the upper hand." "Yes, I can tell." In Yi Chen's sight, Bai Wuxue's face was extremely pale, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. Meanwhile, Xia Hozuan was looking even worse. The clothes on his chest had been ripped apart, revealing the defensive armor underneath. His face was covered in a layer of gold, and there was blood coming out of all of his orifices. His wounds were obviously more severe than Bai Wuxue's. The question was, did Xia Hozuan still have the power to fight? One had to know that at their level, it was possible for them to turn the tables at any time. Cough cough cough. Puking out another couple of mouthfuls of blood, Xia Hozuan's expression changed a couple of times. Eventually, he said slowly, "Shield of life, spear of life. I did not expect you to have already studied the profound of life to this level, able to attack and defend." Bai Wuxue said indifferently, "Likewise. Your astral core finger nearly defeated me. Yes, I should hold on a little longer." Xia Hozuan was a bit regretful. If he had held on, then Bai Wuxue would not have been able to perform that life spear attack with his remaining Jin Yuan. But, it was such a critical situation. Plus, he more or less had the thought of giving Bai Wuxue a taste of his own medicine, which had ended up costing him the battle. But he could still vaguely feel that even if he had held on and performed his star nuclear finger attack to drain his opponent's Shen Yuan, he might not have been able to win. His only mistake was letting down his guard slightly, allowing his opponent to hit him with the Spear of Life. In a battle between powerful warriors, the slightest mistake could decide the outcome. The conversation between the two was heard by the crowd, and only then did they realize that Bai Wuxue had won. But what made them curious was that since Xie Hozhuan could still talk normally, he should still have the power to fight. So, why did he not give it his all? But what they did not know was that the reason Xie Hozhuan could still talk normally was not because of his wounds. In fact, those few sentences had already made him unable to suppress the hidden wounds in his body anymore. All of his organs were showing signs of being shattered. Bai Wuxue's last spear attack was unbelievably powerful, and it was not that much weaker than the void-shattering finger art. It seems like Bai Wuxue has won. But Xie Hozhuan is not weak either. If they were to fight again, he might not lose. Yeah, Xie Hozhuan's finger painting art is indeed powerful. Unfortunately, he was a bit careless and did not manage to block out that life spear in time. You cannot blame Xie Hozhuan either. In that kind of situation, anyone would have been careless. I can only say that Bai Wuxue is too powerful. The onlookers discussed animatedly, their emotions surging. Haha. Bai Wuxue, Xie Hozhuan, you are indeed powerful enough to be in the top of the ranking. Right then, on a tall mountain not far away from the Nine-Dragon Lake, a bulky elder laughed out loud and said something that shocked everyone. Ranking? What is that? I have never heard of it before. Is there really such a ranking in the dark? That is not possible, right? What kind of ranking is there that we do not even know about? Let's ask him. Hey, what is this ranking? Someone asked. The elder said with a loud voice, I am Jiao Changtian, the master of the pavilion. This ranking did not exist before. So, it is normal that you guys do not know about it. Oh. Is your pavilion trying to compile a ranking? Jiao Changtian scanned around with an excited look on his face as he said slowly, as everyone knows, it is hard to reach the life and death realm. There would only be around 10 in 100 years, and no more than 20. Sometimes, there would only be 7 or 8. But there are so many Sea of Souls realm warriors in the world. It would not be an exaggeration to say that there are so many of them. But, unless you become a life and death realm warrior, once you die, people will forget about your existence in just a few decades. How sad and cruel would that be? Clearing his throat, Jiao Changtian continued to say, although our pavilion has not been around for that long, it still has 800 years of history. In the early days of the pavilion's development, the leader of the building and a lot of the dead masters had talked about compiling the ranking. But the true spirit continent was way too big to imagine. With the power of the pavilion back then, it would be impossible for us to finish it. Even if we did, there would not be a lot of people who would believe and acknowledge it. After 800 years, we have finally reached our peak. We have branches in all the top 10 cities in the world. In each city, we have a large or mid-sized base for collecting information. There are also small bases in the normal towns. Therefore, although the continent is huge, we believe that we can finish the task of compiling the ranking. We swear that we will put all of the top Sea of Souls realm warriors into the ranking. So, after decades or centuries, there will still be people who will remember them and remember their glorious stories. Gasp. Hearing him, everyone gasped, including Xie Beiting, Bai Wuxue, and the rest. Putting all of the top Sea of Souls realm warriors into the ranking would be extremely difficult, since there were a lot of them who had been hiding in the dark or had retired from the world. Besides them, since they were going to compile the ranking, there would have to be a ranking, which would be even harder than finding all of the hidden master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors. It would be impossible to have a master-level competition and have all of the master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors participate in the competition. It would not be realistic at all. Therefore, in order to compile the ranking, one would have to carefully observe some of the top Sea of Souls realm master-level warriors and figure out their specific power levels. It would be a lot of work. Of course, only the pavilion would have the right to compile the ranking, since it was the recognized #1 information organization in the world. How many people are in the ranking? Some of the master-level warriors who thought that they had some power could breathe faster. They could already see the future of the ranking. Without any surprises, once the ranking was released, it would definitely shock the whole world. Being able to be in the ranking would be a symbol of power and fame. Although they were quite famous before, there would always be some people who did not want to admit their power. Gao Changtian said, "The ranking is more about quality than quantity. Therefore, there would only be 72 spots in total, and it would be changed once a year. Then, we will write a book for the ranking, which you can buy in every city. Even if you have never been in the martial world before, even if you are not a warrior, as long as you buy a book, you will know who the top master-level warriors are in the world." Such a big plan. Yi Chen could not help but take a deep breath. He did not expect that the information from the pavilion would be this powerful. He did not think that the pavilion had overestimated itself. Otherwise, they would not have waited until 800 years before starting to compile the master-level warrior ranking, waiting until now. Once the ranking is out, it will also ignite the passion of the master-level warriors. Murong Qingcheng said. Yi Chen nodded, "That is for sure. Once the ranking is recognized, it will become the wind vane. If you are not in it, then no one will acknowledge you. Therefore, some of the people who are planning to protect themselves and not accept challenges will not be able to stay quiet like before, unless they do not care about their reputation. After all, you have not fought for dozens of years, so who knows how powerful you really are. The pavilion will not be able to do something that only the gods can do, so they can only try to be fair." Someone suddenly asked, "Master Gao, you just said that Bai Wuxue and Xia Hozuan have the right to be in the top of the ranking. I wonder, according to your information, what rank would they be?" Hearing him, a lot of people had a curious look flashing through their eyes. They all said that the top 5 young warriors were very powerful, and there were not many people who could surpass them. But if there was a clear ranking, then it would be more intuitive. Gao Changtian said, "I am not sure about that right now, because the ranking will be compiled on the 10th of October. Although we have collected a lot of information, it is not perfect yet. But, judging from the information we have, Bai Wuxue and Xia Hozuan would both be in the top 15, maybe even higher. Anyway, on the 10th of October, the first ranking will be released. By then, you all will know who the 72 warriors will be. The 10th of October. There is still less than a month. This Gao Changtian must be here to collect information. If I had known earlier, I would have shown some of my power as well. Perhaps he would have noticed me and listed me as one of the candidates. Since the pavilion is going to compile the ranking, then they must have planned it beforehand. As long as they have made a move in the recent years, they would have collected all of it. But of course, it would be better for me to show some of my power now, since I am definitely more powerful than before." Looking over at Xie Beiting, Gao Changtian laughed, "Xie Beiting, your power is recognized by everyone in the martial world. We, the pavilion, have already listed you as one of the top 5 candidates. Without any surprises, you will definitely be in the top 5. As he spoke, he looked over at Yi Chen, the #1 warrior under the top 5 young warriors. "Yi Chen, you might be able to make it into the ranking as well. You have a great chance." Xie Beiting and Yi Chen smiled lightly and did not say anything. But, they were very curious about the ranking as well. Once the 10th of October arrived, they would definitely buy a copy of the ranking to see who the 72 warriors were, and see if they could match their own opinions. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.